Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shay. Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. God, we love you. We're cracking up because of that crazy song. So we hope you had a great day, honey. We love you. Bye.
There we go. And if you haven't guessed, it's Dan's birthday.
It's Dan's birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, Dan.
So my family all calls me Shay because my dad's name is also Danny Ellis. He's Danny Lynn. I'm Danny Shay. So to keep things straight, when I was a kid, everybody just calls me Shay. So all of my immediate family members, all of my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all call me Shay. Now you all know my middle name.
Now you can stalk him on the internet even easier.
And that was a voicemail from your mom and your son?
Well, I believe that was my mom, my stepdad, and I think the crazy singing in the background was my son Gray. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that had to have been my son.
Yeah, he's fun.
He's very funny. I love that kid.
Mm-hmm. It'd be weird if you didn't.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be. It probably wouldn't be very good. But yeah, it's my birthday. I'm now 41 years old. Officially into the 40s. Like I was 40 before. Now I'm like into
going
the
back.
40s. Yeah.
I bet Dan made a downward motion with his hand also.
Yeah. I did, didn't I? Yep. Into the 40s, and it's all downhill.
It's a dive.
So it's
Dan also received a gift from Beth.
I did.
Contreras.
A knitted Viking stocking cap kind of thing.
Crocheted, I think, sort of a crocheted helmet style to go with the beard and the whole look.
It's fucking badass,
It is
man.
pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Yeah.
It fits quite well.
It's super cool. Thank you very much, Beth. That's awesome. I love it.
She also has more stuff at facebook.com/stitches.
Stitches
by Beth.
Stitches by Beth. Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Cool
I didn't know she had a Facebook page out there or anything.
I would have named it Bitches Get Stitches.
Yeah, that would have given you the right impression.
Stitches for snitches.
I thought it would be semi-funny at the moment.
Well, I guess it could work. She does work at the jail.
There you go.
So yeah.
I bet they say it all the time there.
I'm sure they do.
I feel like I'm going deaf in my right ear. The left sounds very loud, but maybe
I had one side that was sounding off in my headset too, so I just kind of like moved the wires around and
I usually just wear one can, but
yeah.
I think it sounds all right.
Yeah, I think I probably just have. Yeah, I'm sure my right ear is just a little not working well.
Yeah, you turned 41 today. You're going downhill.
That's right. Shit's falling off.
Things are starting not to work the way they used to.
Breaking down. So, what's new with you guys?
Got a new camera lens.
Oh yeah, for your
that's what I was going out and shooting stuff with today.
Yeah. What kind of lens?
It's a 150 to 600 millimeter telescopic lens for my camera.
So you can go out and spy on people and stuff?
Yeah.
Do the telephoto and be Mr. Paparazzi?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing more spying on the Pope.
Why would anybody want to spy on the Pope? I mean, he
probably has some really kinky sex parties going on in there. I just want to get it on, get the proof of it.
So, speaking of the Pope, fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, over this last week, he basically said that you can't criticize religion, you can't criticize religious ideas, blah, blah, blah. And that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Right in his...
No idea nor person is above criticism.
Right in the snot locker. Well, and then the Vicar of Christ...
No, fuck him right in his ass like they do to our kids.
He might like it.
The Vicar of Christ, who said to turn the other cheek, says that, if his personal assistant, Mr. Gaspari, were to ever say anything against his mother, he should expect not just it's not just that the Pope would want to punch him, but he should expect that the Pope will fucking punch him.
Yeah.
You should just know, if you say something bad about my mom, me, the vicar of Christ, representative of God's church here on earth, is going to fucking punch you in your snot locker.
So basically right there is advocating violence. Just like when the Muslims are like, don't depict Muhammad or else we're going to kill your ass.
He's providing cover for people to commit acts of violence for being fucking offended by cartoons and words. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I would say quote offended, because if you're that fucking sensitive.
Yeah, well, and if you, so on Facebook I posted something like, if you are offended by, or if your religion is so delicate that it's offended by, that you're offended by words or cartoons, you got to take a second look at your religion.
Yeah.
And then I saw somebody else post something perfect, and it was, if your religion can't take a joke, it is one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. Well, and the whole thing is, where's your all-powerful God that should be defending himself, right? Why does he need these people?
God sent me to defend him. Rawr, rawr, rawr.
Right.
And if it was so important, why didn't he make a commandment up for it?
Well, you're absolutely right. But, I mean, some would then say, well, that's the whole do not take the Lord's name in vain. And so we were talking pre-podcast about that video that I watched with Andrew Seidel of Freedom from Religion Foundation.
From Wisconsin.
And, yes, based in Wisconsin. He said that, really the admonition to not take the Lord's name in vain isn't saying that you can't say God damn it or anything like that. It's that if you swear to God that you are going to do something or not going to do something, basically if you make an oath based on God's name, don't break that oath.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
So saying God damn it, Jesus Christ, all of that, none of that fucking matters. That's not what the commandment is about. But
And Mormon apostles have said that the taking the Lord's name in vain is holding the LDS priesthood and conferring a priesthood blessing on someone while not worthy. And that's taking the Lord's name in vain. So it's even further confused.
Yeah, it's all fucking silly anyway. But
that was David A. Bednar.
Yeah, well, and the video is basically Mr. Seidel talking about that America is not a Christian nation and going through the Ten Commandments and showing how they are basically, you can see that the United States is not a Christian nation, based on the fact that our laws directly contradict most of the Decalogue, most of the Ten Commandments. And I'll be sure to post a link for that when we get this posted up. I've been sucking at doing that lately.
Yeah, I don't think you've done one yet.
I have done some. I haven't done the past 2 weeks. Fucking work has been crazy. Where you've got an internal audit going on that.
I know you're busy at work with the Godless Rebelution page, where either there's a lot getting posted or I might post something once a day.
That sounded like a breaking the space-time continuum type of paradox to me. An IRS internal audit of the IRS.
Yeah. It's there's an internal group called TIGTA, and it's
who audits them?
Who watches the Watchmen?
It's the NSA, Ryan. You have nothing to worry about.
Okay.
It's Treasury Inspector General. I don't even remember what it stands for, but they basically are the taxpayer. They're kind of part of the taxpayer advocate wing that makes sure that everything within the IRS is above board, and they investigate, internal malfeasance and all that kind of stuff.
That sounds super ominous, that the IRS has a taxpayer advocate wing.
Well, yeah, and that was born.
Well, I know it's good. It sounds like the reason why that was created was there was no advocacy for taxpayers. I'm just saying.
And it is. I mean, it is a good thing that they exist. Because prior to their existence, there was. I mean, there were a lot of things that because they were put into existence have changed and have made the service a lot better for a lot of the taxpayers, here in the United States, period, because they do recognize where, customer service or things that are needed to help taxpayers, should be in place and aren't in place or could be improved and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think they're great. I love the work that they do and try to make things easier for everybody. But now the budget has been cut back so far that
Thanks, Obama.
that
I thought you wanted a smaller government.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been reading articles lately that say that, only 43% of any call made to the IRS during this tax filing season may ever expect to even be answered by anybody.
Oh, wow.
Because we just don't have the fucking people to man the phones and to answer the calls. And, Congress is basically starving the beast and thinks that, it pisses me off because the IRS is always pointed to as the bad agency. It's
right.
that evil government agency who takes money out of your pocket. And it's easy to do that because we are the agency that does that. But anything that we do is mandated by Congress. Congress tells us what to do.
Sure.
They make the laws.
Yeah, and then they turn around and point the finger at the IRS and say the IRS is fucking up here, here, and here, and they're not doing this, and they're not getting this done. And then they keep cutting our fucking budgets so that we can't get that kind of shit done. And then it just becomes this circular self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, they're bad, they can't get anything done, and then we're going to cut their budget so that it ensures that they can't. Yeah. All of the people that I work with work really fucking hard, and they care about their jobs, and they care about the American tax-paying public to make sure that they're treated fairly and the tax code is applied evenly, and we just can't fucking do it with the resources we have. I mean, they've cut our budget so much, we've lost, I think it was 13,000 plus employees in the past 5 years or so.
Well, thanks, John Boehner.
Yeah.
Well, I already got my taxes filed, so I'm good to go.
Did you really?
Yeah. The only thing I don't like is I broke even with Utah, but I still got to pay like the $14 to file it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, since I broke even, you don't owe me nothing, I don't owe you nothing. How about we just not even have to do this, not even have to pay this company to let me not get anything. It's worse than having to pay someone to have to tell me I have to pay again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is what it usually is. So.
True. Yeah, I started on mine. As an IRS employee, I can get in deep shit if my taxes aren't filed by April 15th. So I'm usually right on it. As soon as I have all of my paperwork available, I usually file my taxes. My taxes are generally done, before the end of January, but we just bought this house and I went to get the paperwork for the house. That won't be available until January 31st at the earliest.
I think that's the latest they have to have it to you by.
My taxes
and that's when they said it would be available.
Mine are usually done by the end of January. Which is fine because the $13.49 that I usually get back I can wait for that.
Well, my federal tax return is my drone. So.
Oh yeah. You getting a fancy new drone?
I'm getting a fancy new drone.
Yeah.
With my tax return.
Nice. I saw an article. I just saw the headline. I didn't read the article where, people are becoming disturbed by the number of drones around. And the company
I see so many.
Yeah, I know, right? They bother me everywhere I go. I think the only time I've seen one was at the storytelling festival.
I mean, I've been to events where I might see one at an event, like filming the event.
Yeah.
You can't hear it because there's an event going on, so it's not really annoying me. I can just look up, oh, there's a drone.
Yeah.
Filming an event that I'm at to film the event. He's not spying on my ass.
Yeah, but there was I saw a headline for an article that a company is creating anti-drone drones, basically like drone hunter drones.
Wow.
That are, just the headline made it sound like these drones are designed to take out other drones that are
like go kamikaze on them and just fly into them.
Yeah,
which would be completely ridiculous.
I mean, I doubt they've mounted lasers on them to shoot them down or anything, but
lasers.
Well, in the news the other day, they had a thing up on there telling people, hey,
some drones with some freaking lasers.
if you see drones flying around, report it to your local police so they can go investigate it.
Really?
It's like, yeah, but they're not doing anything illegal. All you're doing is taking up cops' times, a police force time. But as long as you're not flying within 5 miles of an airport, and you're not flying more than 400 feet in altitude, and you have a visual contact with it at all times, you are breaking no laws whatsoever as far as RC aircrafts are considered.
Yeah.
But people don't like them.
Because it can stay stationary and look at me for a long time.
Yeah, that's the thing is people, I'm like, dude, you know that drone that I got flying 200 feet in the air, like filming like woods and mountains, doesn't have a zoom lens on it. So I can see you. You look like an ant. I can never identify you.
Well, people also didn't like the internet, and people also didn't like books. I assume they preferred the scrolls that they were used to and whatnot.
Yeah.
So come on, I mean, they'll grow.
Yeah, I mean, the technology is constantly changing, and
Sure.
people need to change and adapt. with it.
Especially now. But the boomers have a real tough time with all that.
Dude, I was thinking the other day about all of the technological advances that have come along in my 41 years. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
Which
when
is
I was
substantial.
a kid, oh yeah, I mean, we've seen in my lifetime, I've seen
The Walkman.
8 tracks come and go, cassettes come and go, CDs basically come and go.
Yep.
The birth of the digital age, birth of the personal computer, microwaves,
Yep.
internet.
Yeah, of course.
Personal computer.
Yeah, all of this shit that when I was a
VHS to
kid-
DVD to Blu-ray.
Yeah. Well, and now even Blu-ray is starting to go away just because of streaming services.
Yeah. Yep.
And and then flat screen televisions,
Right.
and fucking projecting televisions, and
Now we've got self-driving cars almost.
those are coming around any day now.
Yeah.
I mean, just within my 41 years, there's been a shit ton of technological advancements.
Yep.
And I thought it was cool when we moved into this house. Our microwave isn't just a microwave; it's also a convection oven. So it serves 2 purposes. It's double fancy.
So are we still talking about the Hells this week?
Yeah, we got
Hell
we're-
2.
We'll wrap it up.
Hell
This
2.
week.
You guys ever seen that documentary called Hell House? Or can't remember if it was actually called Hell House, but it was about the Hell House.
Around Halloween?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. About those haunted houses the Christian groups would put on to show you where you're going to go if you don't.
Yeah.
I was like,
That are
where's your proof?
they're
Yeah, but
where's your proof that it exists and that's where I'm going.
But I think they even did like abortion skits during this whole thing.
oh sure, yeah.
Like if you have an abortion, boom, you're going to hell.
yeah.
I didn't want them to kill my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking horrific shit. It's
Yeah.
akin to Jesus Camp. I think Jesus Camp is probably worse because it's younger kids that they're indoctrinating to fucking speak in tongues and all of that kind of crazy bullshit. But yeah, all of that is just fucking nuts to me. I don't understand how they think that's okay or a good lesson for anybody to learn.
Yeah. Or why they would
It's kind of like the devil. It's a scare tactic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which in fact Jesus was the first to employ, so in that sense they are following his lead.
Mm-hmm.
But I have some other articles first.
Okay, let's hit an article. An arty.
This is a good one.
It better be.
On Monday's episode of CBN's The 700 Club,
Oh, not this fuck.
Robertson responded to a viewer who wanted to know why amazing miracles, people raised from the dead, blind eyes opening, lame people walking, and so forth, happen with great frequency in places like Africa and not here in the U.S., which I thought was a valid question.
Well, I don't think they happen in Africa either. But
of course.
let's continue.
But why are they
purported
reported
to happen?
Yeah, why are they reported so heavily? All right, and so his response was this, quote, people overseas didn't go to Ivy League schools. We're so sophisticated, we think we've got everything figured out.
I'm so sophisticated. Ooh.
Yeah. I was surprised he even knew what that word meant, Pat Robertson, but
He's not sophisticated enough to know what sophisticated means.
right. He goes on to say, we know about evolution, we know about Darwin, we know about all these things that says God isn't real.
Wait,
We know about all these things that say God isn't real?
Yeah, we
I
know we
thought-
know about evolution,
I'm with you, Pat.
we know about
Yeah.
Darwin.
Please continue.
We know about all these things that says God isn't real.
But Pat doesn't believe in any of those.
Right. And evolution doesn't say that God isn't real.
No, it doesn't.
He goes on to say that we have been inundated with skepticism and secularism. He continued, and overseas, they're simple, humble. You tell them God loves them, and they say, okay, he loves me.
Okay, God loves me.
Yeah.
Yay!
You say God will do miracles, and they say, okay, we believe him. And that's what God's looking for.
I believe you, God. Yay!
That's why they have miracles.
Because they don't have a concept of anything else besides what you tell them, and they believe you.
Yeah, so what he's saying now is
They're more gullible.
It's a direct admission that education reduces belief in superstition.
So, well,
Not by an atheist, but by Pat Robertson himself.
yeah. Well, in saying that, miracles happen where there are ignorant people who don't know how to fucking explain them otherwise.
Right.
who don't know how to explain any strange or unusual circumstance without appealing to a god.
Right. Right. So basically what he's saying is that this is how religions are born and kept alive, is by
Through fucking ignorance.
not educating people.
And it's
Right.
usually done through trickery anyways, like the blind one. I saw one where the guy was on the show. He's like, I'm not actually blind. I'm like legally blind, but I can still see. Like if you hold your hand up, I can see you're holding 5 fingers up. And that's exactly what the preacher trying to say. How many fingers am I holding up?
Oh.
5? He can see. He's like, I could always see that.
My ex-wife was legally blind, like super really bad eyesight. She had to know where, she would wear contacts most of the time, but she didn't wear contacts at night, and so she had to know exactly where her glasses were placed on the nightstand, because if she woke up in the morning and her glasses weren't there, she
couldn't
be
find them,
crawling around on all fours like fucking Velma from Scooby-Doo. Where are my glasses? I can't find my glasses. Doesn't mean that she couldn't see anything.
Right.
Just that the eyesight is so bad that you usually can't see very well.
Well, yeah, that it was a really fucking terrible idea for her to try to drive without contacts or glasses.
Yeah.
Not that she couldn't see anything.
It's a bad idea for me to drive at night without my glasses.
Yeah.
But I'm not legally blind. I just can't fucking see shit at night.
See, and God blessed me because I'm colorblind, but my vision is very acute. I can see things very, very well and very clearly and very crisply and sharply from vast distances, comparatively
eagle?
speaking with other people, but I just don't know what color they are. That's God making it up to me.
So if a man stands in a field wearing a color you can't see, is he invisible?
No, because I'm colorblind, I've also learned to compensate by looking for other things. I don't look for colors, I look for motion. I've always been very, very good. When me and my uncles and my granddad would go out on the deer's hunts, I was always the first to spot the deer because I was looking for the motion, not the colors. I could always find them real quick.
I don't know what's funnier, the voice or the way you're staring
I
at me.
know, dude. And the fact that he has both of his hands tucked in between his legs.
It's very fascinating and fun and exciting.
You kind of look like Zach Galifianakis in that movie, The Campaign. With his
I
character.
haven't seen that yet.
That's exactly how his character, like his eyes and everything, the way he looks at you and kind of the way he talks in that movie.
I haven't seen that. I heard it's fairly funny.
I'll watch anything Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, he's a funny
he's
guy.
good.
You watch the Between Two Ferns thing that he does?
yeah.
Those are funny.
I like those a lot.
I showed someone like a few weeks ago and like, I've never seen this before. I'm like, you've never seen Between Two Ferns?
That one with Obama cracks me up.
Yeah, the one with Obama was really good. Did you see the one with Brad Pitt?
Where they're sharing the gum.
Brad Pitt spits his gum at him when he starts talking about Jennifer Aniston. Well, and then early on when he was doing the Between Two Ferns thing and he had fucking Bradley Cooper on there.
Yeah, it was always a running joke with Bradley Cooper.
Like, I don't know if Bradley Cooper didn't know exactly what Between Two Ferns was, because he played it off so well that he's just like, Zach, why are you being such a dick, man? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, because there's a lot of other episodes where he refers to him in a negative way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a running joke for the show almost.
It's funny.
Or when he bent Bieber over and spanked him.
Oh, yeah, that one was hilarious. Brandon thought that was so funny.
I hate Justin Bieber, but I watched that.
The one where he had Natalie Portman on there. And
He wanted to have sex with her.
Oh
her
my
dog.
God, was just being so inappropriate and yeah, really super uncomfortable. Those are funny, man. I giggle my ass off at those.
Yeah, those are good. So I have another article here.
Okay.
Dr. Danny Faulkner.
Who that is?
Mm-hmm. He has a master's in physics from Clemson University and a PhD in astronomy from Indiana University, Bloomington.
Physics and astronomy. Sounds like a smart guy.
He says, our sun is just a tiny yellow star in a vast collection that could support life. You'll hear this more and more. Don't believe it.
What part? That the support life or that's a star?
The minimum requirement of a life-supporting star is missing from all other stars. Our God-given sun appears to be unique.
No.
So he's not as smart as he sounds.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say
Goldilocks zone?
Appearing bright from our perspective on Earth, the sun obviously has a special status for us. But its brightness is impressive only because it lies so close compared to the stars. Given everything we know about the brightness of other stars, it's fashionable today to call the sun a star, even an average star. But is this really the case?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even smaller stars than ours, and there's ones that
What
are
does your
the
God
size.
astronomy say?
Yeah. What the Bible says.
While the sun has many characteristics similar to the stars, the Bible never refers to it as a star.
And we know that's a good reference.
Yeah, the Bible taught us everything we need to know about astronomy.
So you start with the Bible, and then make
That's one of the dumbest things I've heard in a while.
Yeah.
The Bible doesn't call it a star.
Yeah, so you start with the Bible and then try to fit your Indiana University PhD in astronomy into that.
Did you see
What a
the
fucking waste.
Did you see the video of the two people on QVC?
Oh,
Yes, the moon.
is it a planet?
Is it a planet or a star?
What is it?
Neither.
None.
But definitely more of a planet than a star.
But it is kind of weird, right? Like, our moon is not named anything, and the Earth isn't really named anything.
And the sun isn't either.
Yeah.
It's the sun.
Well, yeah.
And God isn't either. It's God.
Yeah. And the reason for that is because for the longest time, that's all we knew.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we knew
just-
our planet, our moon, and
Yeah.
our sun. We had no need to name them.
Sure.
We didn't know there were others.
Although Europa is a pretty badass name for a moon.
Right. Well, so is Titan.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't aware of any other satellite bodies.
We should start a petition. Name the moon.
What would we name it?
Yeah.
Cheese factory.
Cheese factory.
That's copyrighted. Trademark.
The moon was there first.
I love that. Patton Oswalt tweeted when he found out that Ted Cruz was going to be in charge of the government oversight committee that would be in charge of NASA, and everybody was all up in arms about it. Patton Oswalt tweeted something along the lines of, everybody's so upset right now that I'm in charge of NASA. Just wait. They won't be laughing once I bring back all that delicious cheese from the moon.
How about we call it Earth 2?
Earth 2? The moon?
Yeah.
Why would we call it Earth 2?
Because once you send people up there to live on it, it's going to be Earth 2.
What about Mars?
Well, that's already got the name Mars.
True. True. It's true. It's true. You know what it is?
What?
It's true.
Yeah. I think it might be correct.
Earth 2. No.
Why don't we call it Terra Luna?
Terra Luna?
Yeah, that'd be like Earth and Moon combined.
It almost sounds like a stripper name, though.
It's a very...
Now coming to the stage, Terra Luna.
Terra Luna.
Oh, because you're thinking of Terra. Okay. Well, I was
It's
thinking
a full moon tonight, gentlemen.
Oh, nice. I was thinking of Terra in the Latin sense, not
Of
in
like
the
terraform.
Not
As
not
in, like,
exactly.
ground.
Right, or terracotta,
Yeah.
not in the Wisconsin sense of Terra.
It'd be Tara Reid's stripper name.
Right. Okay.
Terra Luna.
Yeah, I guess Terra Moon does have a
Terra Moon. Yeah.
Terra Luna. I don't know.
We'll have to do some thinking
Call
on
it
this.
Mooney.
Yeah, yeah, that's way better than Terra Luna. You're right.
Weren't the Moonies a cult?
Yes, they still
Oh, they
are.
were? Oh, never mind. I was thinking, because that was the name
the
of...
Moonies are still around?
Yeah,
Oh, it's Moody. Moody was David Duchovny's character on Californication.
Moody.
Yeah,
Moody?
I thought his name was Moody.
I don't know.
That's
Tracy
all-
watches that.
That's also one of the leading doctors who studied near-death experiences.
The guy who did
Raymond Moody, I think.
that weighed the beds.
Ha!
No, that was a soul experiment.
Yeah, that was different.
And kind of another little segue into more recent news. The kid who recanted his story,
Malarkey.
young Mr. Malarkey, tells a fib. Go figure.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Wrote a book.
Wait, are you telling me the next thing we're going to find out is Mr. Balderdash was lying as well?
Yes, they've both not been telling the truth. Yeah, he had to recant and say, and I kind of feel bad for the kid a little bit, just like teeny tiny little bit, but because he's still using his religion as the reason why he recanted, because God would not be happy that he lied about it. So he withdrew his story, contacted the publisher, said, "No, I lied. I didn't really die and go to heaven." It's funny that you believed that anything like that ever fucking happened anyway.
Yeah.
But you gotta stop publishing my book because it's lies. Lies straight from the pit of hell.
How old is this kid?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how old he is. I can't remember exactly how old he is. He looks like he's 12, 13 maybe.
Well, wasn't there a thing where they're to debunk outer body experiences? They were actually in like ERs and stuff, putting stuff on top of shelves, and being like, "Hey, if you really had an outer body experience, what did that sign say on top of the shelf? You would have seen it if you were floating above yourself."
Yep.
Right.
Like, I didn't
look there.
Yeah. Well, and no one's ever been able to identify the object in the room that was in there when they had their outer body experience.
Yeah. Well, it's still inconclusive because
I could probably have an outer body experience and describe to you exactly what's going on in that room as I'm laying there and doctors are working on me and being frantic and trying to save my life, and I'm laying there lifeless, and the meter thing has got like a little line on it, no bloop bloops.
Yeah, but they say they weren't looking.
No boop
they
bloops.
But they just say it's fucking weird, man. But they just say they weren't looking in that area. You know what I mean? And so,
but there's also the study that says where they were doing the correlation between people that have going in for that had like a massive heart attack, and they're doing blood draws on them during the whole process. And everyone that said, yes, I had the feeling of like an outer body experience. I saw the white light. Goes, I had an out of, I
was floating above myself on the bed.
All had extremely high levels of CO in their brain.
Carbon monoxide?
Yep. Or CO, whatever. It was really high in their fucking brain. They're like, well, the people that didn't have the high levels in their brain had none of these experiences.
Yeah.
Like there must be a correlation between the two. You having visions like that when your brain's fucking dying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I'm just saying I'm not sure it's totally conclusive because, it's just like.
Well, I think it's pretty conclusive. There's no such thing as an outer body experience.
Well, I definitely don't believe that there is either. I'm just saying it's kind of one of those things where you can't say for sure that there isn't, but I don't believe that there is.
I mean, if they do have definitive proof, and okay.
They don't.
That's right, but if there's none, there's never been any proof that anybody's had an outer body experience to actually be able to, be truthful about it.
Yeah. Well, that just means I don't believe it. That doesn't mean it's impossible.
Sure.
I would put that on pretty high on the impossible
You're an
scale.
out-of-body experience agnostic.
And also an atheist as well, if you're going to use that analogy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would put it very high on the
I don't believe it
level.
Yeah.
I don't believe it, but I can't know.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, but again, it's.
I believe me. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know why you're disgusted by that response.
But I can't. No.
I'm not even willing to go far enough to say, well, it's possible because we don't know either way, so anything's like. I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying.
Extremely.
If we're talking about certainties, I'm not willing to say that I'm absolutely certain it's impossible. Although I'm as close as you could get.
Yeah. Whatever.
Now
believe you're being weird tonight.
I believe people can have hallucinations.
Oh yeah, definitely.
100% a hallucination.
I've had a few,
but they're not leaving the body
because I was tired. Right, tired.
Actually, I think you can clinically have that happen to you.
Yeah, you can
through sleep deprivation. You can hallucinate.
Yeah,
or if you play video games for 3 days on end in Japan, you can die.
Well, yeah, that was a circulation thing, though.
Yeah,
right?
probably. I think the guy was probably sitting in the chair for too long. But it was like the second or third time they've had it happen, like recently, where a guy was on like a gaming binge in a gaming cafe and fucking died.
Yeah.
They should have hours like limits. Like, dude.
You haven't got off your ass for the past 72 hours?
Last guy died when you're this long, so you better fucking get up.
Don't you need to poop or something?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Well, they usually like invent really cool toilets over there, so it's probably not improbable that they have toilets built into their gaming chairs.
I have seen a reclining toilet.
In a movie?
No, not just in a movie. That was in, what was that? The one with Dax Shepard.
Yeah, we talked about it like we talked about it the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Idiocracy?
Idiocracy, yeah.
But no, like...
Go away, I'm baiting.
Exactly.
I like money.
But like an actual ad for a reclining chair.
A lazy fuck chair.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess if you like to fuck on the toilet. I've never understood the appeal of that. Like when drunk people are in a bar and they'll sneak off into the bathroom.
Yeah, they're just really dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume that has less to do with the environment, and more to do with just.
the fucking.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I've been drunk and at bars, and I don't even want to poop in the bathroom.
Although, you never know. I mean,
Let alone
Yeah, let alone fucking it.
put my little guy in. Not that it's little. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just
well, he is Irish, so
And German. I'm mostly German.
yeah, so this is a pretty good chance. Pretty good chance that he's small and he likes doing it on toilets if he's German.
Whoa.
oh.
I know there's some weird German fetishes out there, but
Isn't that where the whole scat stuff started?
I don't know. That's
I don't know.
nothing I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm really not sure either.
I don't. It's just what I've heard.
We can continue with this.
Yeah,
article.
what do we got going with this article here?
We went off on like 4 different tangents there. Sorry.
No, that's all right. So he is unconvinced by the characteristics of our sun because the Bible never refers to it as a star. This suggests that the sun may have some unique characteristics. Could that refer to its composition? The sun's composition is a bit unusual. It has far less lithium than most stars do.
Okay.
Not the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Right. Lithium isn't very common in stars anyway.
So what does it matter?
Yeah. But the sun is among the most lithium-poor stars.
Okay. Still got all the right hydrogen and whatever else.
Yep. Though this statistic is interesting, it isn't clear whether it's significant. So he just negates his opening paragraphs right with one sentence. Doesn't even matter if it's he goes on to say the sun has another property that is very important and unusual. It's stability. Astronomers have spent some time looking for stars similar to the sun because such stars might be conducive for sustaining life on any planets that orbit them. Astronomers have found a few solar twins that have the same temperature, size, mass, and brightness as the sun, but nearly all of them are variable. That is, they vary in brightness.
Their solar storms are
Different.
wild and crazy.
He doesn't specify, so I'm not exactly sure what he means by vary.
But even if a star is larger or smaller than ours and it's a stable star that's not the same size as ours, it still has its zone. That's an inhabitable zone, the Goldilocks zone.
Yep.
So size doesn't matter.
And
The sweet spot.
And the radius of that zone depends on the size
of the star.
The output of the star. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yep. So he's saying that they all vary in brightness or whatever. But with all the concern about global warming today, it ought to be obvious that a constant sun is essential for life.
Okay.
I don't know why he throws global warming in there. But yeah, I mean, consistency, sure.
He's probably one of those same people that posted on Facebook, if our rotation changes more than 1 foot, we're going to burn up.
Yeah, maybe.
Not taking into account the
We wobble.
the wobble and that our distance from the sun varies by 146,000 miles or something like that.
It's huge.
146,000 miles.
Yeah. Out of 93 million as an average.
Yeah.
But then he goes on to say this, which is actually pretty significant to this article. He says the sun may vary slightly in brightness, but it's beyond our ability to measure.
We have things that watch it constantly. We are constantly
We can measure everything except the sun.
which we are watching every day.
I'll read it again, though, because it's self-refuting. The sun may vary slightly in brightness, right?
Earlier he said if it varies in brightness, it
well,
doesn't.
Let me just separate this into two segments. The sun may vary slightly in brightness. Let's assume that's a sentence. So that means, okay, it varies in brightness.
Yeah.
Then he says, but it's beyond our ability to measure. How the fuck do you know it varies then?
Yeah.
Excellent question.
We can't measure it, but we're just going to say right here now it varies.
Yeah, it may vary slightly in brightness, but it's
Ain't got no
beyond
proof.
our ability to measure. Okay, so the first part of your question is or the statement is completely null.
Yeah, for one thing, we can actually measure stars in other fucking solar systems.
Is he saying that its brightness varies so slightly that we can't measure it? I mean, even then, that would be fucking wrong.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we do measure it, but even assuming we couldn't, then what gives him the right to state that it does vary?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird.
Because we know, like we're watching it, we know when it's like giving
This
off
sound-
like solar whatever the fucking.
This sounds like it was written for a Christian audience who would just
absolutely.
go, yep. Yep.
Well, this was linked as a must-read article by Kirk Cameron.
Oh.
And this is a doctor from Answers in Genesis.
Okay.
Yeah. But I started with his credentials. He's legitimate, but he's
but he probably
he's
got them
not-
online out of the Cracker Jack
he's
box
not
that he
peer
ordered.
reviewed. I mean, anyway.
So this guy abuses his credentials.
Yep.
And I've used a similar analogy recently that he's abusing his credentials like Dr. Oz abuses his.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and Dr. Phil abuses his.
Dr. Phil,
You need a
Doctor-
checkup from the neck up.
quote unquote, Dr. Laura Schlesinger.
Oh yeah, but
So when you got a guy who has these credentials and he's spewing this stuff out, and they're like, "Yeah, I totally agree with it. He's got all his credentials. Of course he's right."
Did you say Sputin?
Yeah, sputin.
Rasputin.
He'd be Rasputin this stuff out.
He's Rasputin.
Yeah, when you have an archdiocese or a well-known preacher that comes out,
Archdiocese?
diocese.
Sputin and archdiocese.
Yeah, I'm doing great with my wordage tonight.
Wordage.
I had to fuck that word up just to make all the other ones feel correct. But when they come out and they come out with these allegations of rape and of things going wrong in the church, and they're all like, "Yeah, I've seen it. I'm coming forward with it. I worked around people. I know he did. If you're like, well, you're no longer in the church, so we don't really know how much we can trust you. You're not really credible.
Yeah.
I'm not going to believe that.
Yeah. It's an outside.
It's like, no, I left the church because of this stuff going on, and now I want to bring it up that this is going on in the church. Like, well,
you have an axe to grind.
Yeah. Right.
yeah, no, we don't believe you.
Yeah. I who knows? There's all kinds of assumptions we could make. It's just much easier to write reports. No, you don't have to do research. Make things that sound good and get paid by creationists to write stuff to a bunch of fucking morons who are just going to eat it up. Where you don't have to do any fact checking, you don't have to have peer review, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So his degrees may be legitimate, but his process is not.
Yeah, because we do know that we are monitoring the sun all the time. We're monitoring other planets. We have found planets that have shown the ability to inhabit life or have the ability to have life on them that have water and atmospheres and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been found.
Well, I mean, just the fact that we three laymen can come up with problems and fallacies and contradictions at almost every line of what should be a PhD astronomy topic it poses problems for somebody who's supposedly an expert in that field.
Yeah.
So global warming, blah, blah, blah. The sun may vary slightly in spread beyond our ability to measure. So we can be confident that any normal variation is so small as to have few adverse effects on life.
Yeah, we can't measure it.
Right. If we can't measure it,
How do you know?
then we can be confident that they're so small that they don't adversely.
And we know that
affect life.
solar storms and solar flares can affect all kinds of shit.
Oh yeah,
Not life, though.
we know that's what wiped out Mars's atmosphere.
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought what they said was it was solar storms that basically ripped away at Mars's atmosphere over time and basically.
Solar wind, I think, which is the steady radiation.
Because we have the solar winds hitting us that are ozone protectors, but it's the big, huge blast.
It's the electromagnetic
that hit.
field from a cooling plant, the center of a cooling planet that provides the protection, as far as I understand, from solar wind. Mars doesn't have that.
Well, I thought they're saying that there's a possibility it used to, but it's been stripped away and it's no longer there anymore, so it has no protection now.
Yeah, once the core cools and it's no longer churning, there's no more electromagnetic field generated, and then the solar wind is free to wreak its havoc.
I guess I was always under the assumption that if a large enough solar flare hits, it can basically
bend,
take a chunk out. If you get hit enough with big giant solar storms, it basically will wipe out your.
Yeah, well, it can bend and stress and break the electromagnetic field that the Earth has and penetrate still through that. But it would take a direct hit from the solar flare.
It would take a few. It
wouldn't just be normal solar.
No.
Right.
And once that happens, we would cool very quickly. So we would no longer have the gases kept inside here to keep us warm.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, we'd be done for
Time to throw in a blanket.
Start a fire.
Gotta create more atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, we're good at that. We're good at heating up the world.
Yeah, maybe we've created enough greenhouse gases that if one does hit a new layer will just form. Like, hey, our greenhouse gas are just a Band-Aid waiting to be applied.
God has answered our prayers.
Yep. And you know it would be them too. It'd be all those fucking guys that have their modified diesel trucks that are out there blowing coal and shit or whatever they do.
Rolling coal,
yeah. And they'd be like, "Yep, me and God, we saved the world. Jesus, take the wheel.
Saving the world one diesel tank at a time."
Yeah.
And I can just see him giving this interview in front of a field of a bunch of diesel trucks just running up, spewing in the sky. Yeah, we got our earth-saving factory going on here.
Right. Yeah,
spewing our life-saving atmosphere.
Yeah, but at that time, those would be the liberals. they'd be the ones saving the earth and the ecosystem.
The conservative Christians would be like, "Hey, whoa, what are you doing? God doesn't want you. You're trying to go against God now."
Yeah, I don't even know what rednecks would look like in that world. So in contrast to this, other stars, which are otherwise similar to the sun, typically vary in brightness by a few percent, which, according to him, was beyond our ability to measure.
Sure.
But apparently, they vary in brightness by a few percent.
Yeah, because we can measure one a few light years away, but we can't measure the one in our backyard.
Yeah, with some varying far more. This would be disastrous for life on a planet orbiting such a star, just from the standpoint of large temperature variations. Just 1% variation in the sun would result in an average temperature shift of 2 degrees Fahrenheit on Earth. This might not sound like much, but it's a change in the average temperature. Local and seasonal changes likely would be far higher and more disruptive to life.
To say something like that, he would obviously have to be talking about a sustained change of 1%, right? It wouldn't be that it could change by 1% for half a second and fuck everything up.
Yeah, we
right.
have to.
I mean, that's talking about if we were to change it by 1% forever.
Right.
For a few thousand years.
Or even annually. But what I think is really interesting about this is he says just 1% variation in the sun would result in an average temperature shift of 2 degrees Fahrenheit on Earth. This may not sound like much, but this change in the average temperature, local and seasonal changes would be far higher and more disruptive to life. That's exactly the number they're talking about for global warming.
I was going to say he's probably a climate change denier too.
Yeah, he already threw that in earlier.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the exact number.
This is how
they talk about 2 degrees.
This is how he's refuting climate change because, like, well, the sun ain't changing, so how can our climate change?
Well, he's quote refuting climate change by applying it,
saying, well, this is what it requires, and since the sun ain't changed,
yeah. Except he's using the climate change issues to say that the sun is not a star.
14 of the what was it during? So during the State of the Union address last night, President Obama was talking about climate change, and he said that 14 of the hottest years on record ever have all occurred in the last 15 fucking years.
Yep.
This year broke the record again,
Yeah.
saying this year was the hottest year on record since we've been taking records.
Yes, ever. And 14 of the last 15 years have been the hottest ever on record.
And I've had to shovel my driveway exactly 0 times this year.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yep.
Hey, I went to work yesterday and didn't wear a jacket. It's the middle of fucking January in Utah.
There's open
and
water.
I didn't need a jacket.
Yep.
There's no snow on the ground here in the valleys.
Nope.
It's fucking
There's no
wild,
snow on the
man.
bench.
Yeah, it's
There's only
wicked
snow
crazy.
at the
Not even
top.
on the benches. Yeah.
There's only snow at the top of the mountains where you can find snow almost all year round in certain areas.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But there's more than that.
Oh, this fuckery's going on more with this guy?
That's actually what he said.
Oh, he said fuckery?
He said there's more than that.
Oh.
No, he doesn't say fuckery or diassist or outer body experience or any of that stuff. The variation appears to be related to magnetic activity, which can harm life.
Magnets, how the fuck do they work?
And how does magnetic activity harm life?
You know what magnet sounds an awful lot like? Magic.
Magneto. On Earth, we're familiar with the sun's magnetic field because it's intimately involved with sunspots, or in the case of other stars, star spots. Yeah,
Is that in the article?
Yeah, that's what it says. But which is interesting because sunspots are, by definition, varying degrees of temperature on the surface of the sun.
Like this
Right?
last year.
So
when-
if you're acknowledging sunspots or star spots, then you're acknowledging a temperature difference.
Yeah.
Or else how the fuck do you see it on the photosphere?
Or it's like the fucks who this past year were all freaking out going, the sun is shifting its poles, we're all going to die. It's like, no, it does it
Wait.
it does it all the time. It's a normal process the sun goes through.
The sun has a
The Earth changes its poles every now and
Yeah.
then.
right, and the sun has a differential rotation anyway, so every time a magnetic one of the fields of magnetism snaps, right? All that plasma follows that stream, and that creates a flare because it snaps it out into the. This guy's a fucking idiot. Every 11 years, the number of spots and magnetic activity increase. So he's talking about the
It always increases before a
solar
pole
activity
shift.
zone. Yeah. It does go through 11-year cycles.
Yeah, so it gets that they build up, the pole shift, boom, everything's back. It's a process.
So during sunspot maximum, the sun frequently produces energetic flares that bathe the Earth in an extra dose of particle radiation that can wreak havoc on Earth and damage cells and living organisms. That's partially true, right? It doesn't always. Every time that happens during solar maximum, it doesn't always affect Earth.
I mean they can. I remember
on
they're
what
saying like in
direction
the early
it goes.
1900s when we got hit by a huge blast, they could see it in the soil. Like you can actually go and like, oh yeah, here you can see in the trees and the soil. We can register how much soil or sun activity was going on and all that kind of crap.
And then he hits on the nail on the head with this one. We can only imagine how destructive the radiation on the planets orbiting others would be on planets or Jesus Christ.
You're talking like me.
Where?
We can only imagine how destructive the radiation would be on planets orbiting other stars, which is totally. Yes, we can only imagine. So thank you.
I would think it'd be awfully similar to the ones around here.
We don't have to only fucking imagine. We can view that shit.
Well, in some cases, yeah. But there's also predictive power with physics, but based on the observations we have made.
You can make a very educated prediction upon.
And the maths.
Yeah.
And the maths, yeah. But he's saying none of that's possible because the sun isn't even a star. It's the sun because the Bible says.
He needs to take a trip to NASA and see what these guys are building for these
he doesn't care about
satellites and stuff they're putting out and what they measure and how they do it and how they're able to see it and stuff that NASA gets back from to actually read. Go, hey, this is the atmosphere here.
Yeah.
How does this fucking guy get 2 degrees
Yeah.
and not... How does that fucking happen?
Well, I don't know.
I've always said just because you got a degree don't mean shit.
Well, it doesn't. I mean,
It just means you attended class and did your homework.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it might also be that he's really lazy. Like I said, maybe he doesn't want to do all that research. He just wants to feed creationists and make a paycheck. They're going to pay him to spit shit like this out. What does he care?
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's almost over.
Thank God.
By God's gracious design, the Earth has a protective magnetic field that prevents the sun's flares from disrupting life.
Yeah, we found those other places. I think.
Also, that's science. So
Yeah.
what are you talking about, guy? The particles racing from the sun interact with the magnetic field, which deflects most of the particles. Yet we are periodically reminded about such imminent danger when the flares overload the ability of Earth's magnetic field to protect us, which has never happened in human history.
Not that would be detrimental to our health.
That would be. If
when
that
it's happened before, like we didn't have everybody's worried about like electronics and stuff crashing and all that kind of crazy crap. It's like, well, it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, well, direct radiation from solar wind would be detrimental to life on Earth.
Yeah, but I think we'd have a huge tear in our atmosphere. to have
Anuses.
that happen. Or anuses. I should have said that.
Astronauts on the
I was just
space
waiting
station,
to say anuses.
You were waiting for the planet Uranus to come up, weren't you?
No, Uranus.
Oh,
Well said. Great point, Dan.
You're welcome.
And it's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
that was. I posted the thing on the Godless Rebelution with Neil deGrasse Tyson on his Star Talk Radio, his podcast where he's talking with God. And that was one of the things on that one where he's talking to God and he's asking, well, what are some things that you don't like that we've done?
Oh.
He's like, well, when you discovered that one planet, I was really hoping you're going to name it after me. I've done all this great work. You named planet after all these other Greek gods and all that kind of stuff. And I came around and you find this planet. And what do you call it? You call it Uranus. I was really hoping you're going to call that one God.
His interview with God.
Yeah.
That's
It's
so
hilarious.
Funny. Yeah, it is. Secular scientists might respond that since we haven't observed the behavior of stars for very long, we can't prove just how unusual the sun is with respect to its long-term stable behavior.
Is there any other kind of scientist, any other kind of honest scientist, really, than a secular scientist?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, do you say I'm a Muslim scientist? We don't.
Right.
I'm trying to remember who I was listening to. Oh, I think it was Andrew Seidel again on the FFRI thing, and he was talking about we don't practice Muslim math, we practice algebra. We don't. We don't.
Yep.
There are so many disciplines that have come about through people who may have practiced a particular religion, but we don't call it that religion's science.
Yeah.
It's fucking science.
Yeah, it's a classic poisoning the well fallacy. Right off the bat, he's trying to say they're going to be biased and I'm not. Right? Well, right away he's saying, well, secular
Don't
scientists,
listen to what they say.
They might respond by contradicting what I'm saying with this, right? It's poisoning the well.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't listen to secular scientists. They don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
I'm going to tell you ahead of time that they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So don't bother.
And he said, but it's safe to conclude that all solar-type stars vary part of the time and are stable only part of the time. We live in a time of stability, but secular astronomers have no reason to believe this has always been the case. This stability throughout life's history on Earth is easy to explain if the sun and Earth are young, as we creationists know.
Oh.
But it wouldn't work if the sun or any star system is. But it wouldn't work if the sun or any star system is billions of years old. Life requires a stable sun at all times, and that's just what God gave us.
Because there wasn't always life on this fucking planet.
And the life on this planet hasn't existed in its present fucking form for billions of years.
This planet was stable way longer than there was life on this planet.
Yeah, the life on this planet has been a fucking twinkle in the eye of the fucking planet's history.
Well, not only that, but if you take you go back 500 million years, what was life then? Ammonites, trilobites, right? Cambrian era. It was totally different.
Totally different type of life because we had at that time even a totally different fucking type of atmosphere.
Well, and they all lived in the sea.
And we as humans have fucked this planet up more than any other astronomical thing could do in our 1 billionth of a second in the cosmic calendar.
Way faster.
I'm curious to know what this guy's grades were throughout his college career.
Steady D's.
I passed with a C- average.
I bet he got
I got my
George
degree
Bush average.
barely.
And none of my papers ever got peer reviewed. They threw them all in the trash. But I kept them, and now I fucking send them out here to you guys to read.
To be fair,
you're my peers. You review them.
There are people who are smart and are also creationists.
Yeah,
they're very few and far between, though.
But the thing is you can believe that, but when it comes to you sitting in a lab and looking at information, you got to throw all that fucking out the window.
Yep. And even then they still have this huge wall of separation between their religious beliefs and their scientific beliefs. I mean, they can't hold both of them at the same time. There's a huge disconnect there.
Well, and integrity is not something that's easily measurable. So,
No.
I don't how much, like I said, I mean, how much is the dollar factor? They're willing to pay him X amount to publish this kind of shit, and with his credentials, maybe it just comes down to not wanting to do the research and not giving a shit that it's inaccurate.
And I know every scientist is going to be biased towards a certain side, but it's being able to take what you're biased towards, do the research, and go, I guess I'm wrong. I guess my side that I thought, which I want to be right, is incorrect. And this is the correct answer. This is what the research is showing. I wish this was right. I wish my side was correct, but it's not.
Well, and I kind of disagree with Matt's argument about the integrity and the dollar amount thing. I mean, that's basically the shill argument, right? Where anytime that you would argue against something, it's because that's where you're getting paid
your money
or whatever. But I mean, he could, if he were practicing good science, obviously get a job doing something else. He doesn't have to just get paid through this Christian group or whatever. He could probably make better money if he were a better fucking scientist.
Yeah, I don't know if I was proposing that as absolutely. I just was saying that may also be a factor.
It may.
That's all. I don't know.
I would say that if that is a factor, it's probably that he's so fucking wrong and ignorant on different things that it's an economic stream of last resort. That he's getting paid from them, but it's because he can't get paid anywhere else because he's he's a fucking lunatic.
Fair enough, and that would be just as much speculation as mine. I'm not saying that's for sure what it is. It boggles my mind as well, and I don't know what other options there are. I mean, maybe he just really does. I don't know. It's hard to imagine you could get a PhD in astronomy. And a master's in physics, and these are both accredited universities.
Yeah,
and then still hold such ridiculous beliefs.
Well, and it sounds like he started with a conclusion and then tried to get an education to back up his preconceived notions.
Well, yeah, there you go.
I want to see his original diploma, not a copy. Not a new one from the. I want to see the original.
Did he go to the University of Kenya?
It was actually not really.
He probably did. He probably went to the University of Kenya. I think this guy went to the University of Kenya. I'm a diploma denier.
University of Kenya by way of Hawaii.
Oh, he ain't a true graduate.
It was actually kind of difficult to find anything on this guy, actually. But it's not a big surprise that there was a link from Kirk Cameron.
Yeah,
for this guy.
Yeah, he has a lot of reputable links.
Yeah,
I would say. There was something I was reading about him the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I remember going through it. Someone posted it on Facebook, and I was like,
from Kirk Cameron?
Yeah.
And something credible? Did you say?
No. It wasn't credible. It was just more of looking. I'm like, what's this guy spews so much fucking bullshit and more hatred, I think, sometimes. Like, I don't necessarily hate you, Kirk Cameron. I just wish you would pull your head out of your ass.
Oh, yeah. The Kirk Cameron he's one of the worst people. He's terrible. I mean,
I was glad his movie bombed. I mean, as nice as that is for me to say, I'm glad his movie bombed.
The Schadenfreude was so thick. Yeah, when he took to the internet to tell people, go and rate my movie really high.
Yeah.
So that other people want to see it. It'll get a good rating on Rotten Tomatoes and
it was
IMDb.
Like the worst rated movie ever.
Huge fucking mistake, Kirk. You should never take to the internets with smart people to tell dumb people to do something you want them to do.
There are horrible 70s B flicks about dinosaurs and naked women on beaches that got better ratings.
Oh, yeah. I would rate them higher for sure.
Sometimes I go on Netflix just I'm like, let's see the worst rated movie on Netflix and watch it. I usually can't make it through, but usually a lot of them have a concept of dinosaurs or naked tribes type women. And one of them I was watching had both. Or like this military plane crashed on an island inhabited by half naked women and they were fighting off a dinosaur.
Amazonian warriors who were battling dinosaurs.
And they really like taking baths together and rubbing each other.
I watched. So I'd seen a lot of posts on Facebook, people talking about Snowpiercer, and that
I liked it.
I didn't like it. I thought it was pretty fucking terrible. I mean, the acting was bad, the cinematography was bad, the effects were bad, the story was trite.
Well, it was an indie film. It wasn't like done by a major.
Yeah,
this is like guys in a garage making this fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a trope that's been repeated over and over and over again.
The socio-economical differences in people and shit.
Yeah, it wasn't anything new or interesting, and everybody's like, "Oh, it really gave me something to think about." And,
well, have you never
seen any other fucking movie that's ever been made?
Are you a fan of the Marvel movies?
Yes, then I'm a geek.
There you go.
I know you don't like superhero movies, but I do.
I'm not a child.
And I don't go into the superhero movies thinking, "Oh, I'm going to learn something or whatever."
But if you're going to look, and I haven't seen Snowpiercer, it just sounds like someone with a boner doing a snow angel face down to me. But
no, it's a post-apocalyptic world and everybody's trapped on a fucking train.
But I mean,
it's so cold outside you couldn't
live.
But
if you're going to criticize trope and repeated plot points and this kind of, and you like Marvel, I think you take yourself out of the conversation.
Well, but no, because the difference here
is the people at the front of the train are the wealthy and well-to-do people. The people at the back of the train are like the really poor, low-class people.
Humanity.
And the people who are the really low-class people at the back of the train want to get to the front of the train so they can control it and everybody can have like an equal life, and they don't want to live that shit life anymore. So it's trying to defeat the upper class.
Well, and the difference too is that, like I said, the acting was bad, the story was bad. I mean, you can have a superhero movie with great fucking acting, great fucking effects, great storyline. Doesn't mean that any of it is true or that we haven't seen a similar story before, but it's still entertaining and interesting, and you appreciate the acting and the effects and all of that good stuff. I didn't find anything really appealing with Snowpiercer.
Well, have you seen Boyhood yet?
Boyhood, huh?
Most people haven't even heard of this fucking movie.
I think I may have heard of it, but
I thought it was fucking phenomenal.
Boyhood. Tell me a bit about it.
Boyhood is a movie that they took 12 years to make.
It's about Catholic priests.
Oh, yeah.
No, they literally filmed for like 1 week or like for like a couple weeks a year with the same cast.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke plays the dad in it. I'm trying to think of the woman that plays the mother. She's very famous. The girl in it's the director's daughter.
No, I have seen the previews for it, and I thought it sounded really interesting. I wanted to watch it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It is unlike any other movie I've ever seen because there really is no plot. Basically, it's a movie about growing up, and it goes through all the things of like, going from being 12 years old to being, or not 12, he's probably about 6 years old when it starts, up to being it through his teenage years.
Yeah.
Going through having to move, going through a mom that's divorced, and her getting remarried and all the problems. It's a story about basic life. There's no thrilling, CGI going on, no crazy car chases. It's a story just about growing up, and it follows him. And it's crazy how seamlessly it goes from year to year with this kid growing up the whole time. And by the time you're done watching it, you've literally just watched 12 years of this kid's life growing up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do remember seeing the previews for that and thinking that I wanted to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's good. It's about 3 hours long, but by the time it's over with, you won't even realize you sat there for 3 hours watching it. You're like, wow, that was...
Yeah.
I want to see someone make Homer's Odyssey starring Kirk Cameron and Kevin Sorbo.
Oh God!
Is Kevin Sorbo going to be Homer?
The Odyssey was a good book, man. You
what's his name?
You can't ruin it that way. That'd be sacrilegious.
God will have done everything.
Fucking terrible.
Shall we talk about hell?
Sure. So I'm texting with my son while we're doing this and asking him if he would like to come on the show sometime. And I said, hey, I would love to have you on the show sometime to talk about physics.
He was pretty bored when he watched us talking last time.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about stuff he wasn't totally jazzed about, but he's totally into physics and he loves that kind of shit. But he replied and he said, it kind of depends on what we would talk about. I'm not able to give trustworthy explanations or information on a lot of physics. I'm just an undergrad. Most of the stuff I do is just classical mechanics. Although I'm usually careful enough to not say inaccuracies. Also, happy birthday!
Nice.
Hey, better than us. So, we speak out of our asses a lot of the time. It's whatever's on the top of our heads.
Especially me.
I talk out of my ass all the time.
Yeah, he would be fine.
No, yeah, I'm going to just basically reply to him and say, I want you to talk about something that you do know about and that you think is really fucking cool.
Yeah, just have him come up with the topic and we'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to see if he'll come on the show next week. That would be good. I love that kid. Good. He's awesome.
Yeah. And everyone's involved in our what's usually off-mic conversations. So they can be expecting, hopefully, a very entertaining and intelligent guest next week.
Young Mr. Gray Marchese, who's a total badass.
Yep, I agree.
He's really good at rearranging letters.
He is good at that as well, yes. Among other things, yeah.
I'd almost forgotten about
super
that.
Inside joke. All right, let's finish up hell.
Okay.
Because it's so ridiculous.
Okay.
So last time we talked about the 3 reasons for punishment, deterrence, separation, or rehabilitation. We covered deterrence. That one actually was a little bit more in depth because there could be many options for deterring potential transgressors, that kind of thing. So we delved into that a little bit. And this time we'll just wrap the whole thing up by covering separation and rehabilitation in one, which, as you'll see, will be fairly easy to do.
Okay.
So let's start with separation. And I just want to start by saying that, of course, some people do need to be removed from society. Right? We're all aware of offenders, even on Earth. Right? That.
Yeah, I'm not against the death penalty.
Right.
Yeah, we're removing them from society.
That was a big
gone
dead space.
I know. I was just gonna let that sit as long as it would because that was so not what we were even going. We weren't even going there at all.
He said remove them from society. That's the ultimate way to remove someone from society.
I guess I'm kind of torn on the death penalty. I mean,
so am I.
To say that you agree with the death penalty would mean that you would have to say that there are some people who are beyond any type of rehabilitation. There's just no way at all that they will ever be fixed. Ever.
And it's
Like,
and especially as an atheist, right?
certain mass murderers who literally say after they're caught, like, I can't control it. Like, even Jeffrey Dahmer was.
But is
said,
that
like,
to say? But is that to say that they could never control it? That they could never be taught to control it?
Well,
They
wait.
could never be taught compassion, and that is wrong, and that they shouldn't do it, and then they would stop.
That's a whole
that's
separate
what
issue.
you would have. That's what you would have to determine.
No, but
right?
that's even a whole separate issue. Let's say you're absolutely right, Ryan. There's no way they're ever going to be changed. They're as soon as you let them out, they're going to kill the first person they see, right? Whatever, right? But you could still prevent that without killing them.
True.
You could keep them in prison forever
yeah.
and still avoid all those consequences you're talking about without taking that life. That's what makes it tricky to me.
The only time I see the death penalty being legitimate is during a horrific murder, something that was like plotted, like this person
Like the
intentionally. Yeah, they should all be fucking slaughtered in the backyard. Only the ones that are rapey, though.
All right, let's move on to hell.
Okay.
We should cover death penalty another time.
All right.
So removing people from society, I think for almost everybody's a given, right? At some point, even on Earth, right? If we're assuming that there is some afterlife or whatever, right? Even on Earth, we're able to notice that.
Put them in a timeout.
Right.
You're doing some bad stuff right now, okay? We're going to put you in a timeout.
Right. Charles Manson, Dahmer, we don't want those guys around ever, right?
No.
Had we been able to arrest and detain Hitler? Sure.
Oh, he was
sure.
arrested and detained. He was in jail for a few years.
Yeah. Well, but
Then he got out and he went all fucking psycho fucking Nazi shit.
got all fucky.
All his Third Reich dreams and all that shit.
Jeez. So anyway, so could separation be the reason for God to create a hell? We're all kind of familiar, hopefully, with the fact that no sinful souls can enter the kingdom of heaven, or so it's said, right? Those who, quote, reject the Christ figure are also considered sinners and must go to hell.
Well, then why did he create sin in the first place?
Well, and I suppose when we're looking at separation as being a reason for hell, we would have to assume then that heaven also exists, and that if hell wasn't a place, that these people would go to heaven, right? So in order to say that hell is a justification for separation, we would have to assume that heaven exists, and then that we want to keep these people out of heaven, so they have to go somewhere else.
Right.
Okay.
Which he created, knowing what they were going to do in the first place.
But, Ryan,
Okay, there's a but there.
God doesn't want to send anyone to hell. His holiness forces him to send sinners to hell.
His whole isn't God the what's above God?
Nothing.
God is the ultimate
So
arbiter.
how can
God
he?
is,
I'm just saying this is one of the arguments you'll get.
God,
He doesn't want to send you,
all-powerful
Ryan.
God-
You've chosen this. You've chosen not to believe. You've chosen to send yourself.
the
there.
all-powerful God has no other option available. We force his hand. We force God to make this decision. We force him.
Yep.
God is so weak that he cannot withstand us doing something because we force his hand. Whether he wanted to or not, it's completely beyond his control.
This is where I think
Makes
one
sense?
of the more succinct and brilliant responses I've ever seen on the atheist experience was about this very thing from Jeff D. You guys know Jeff D?
Oh yeah.
So this lady called in and was talking about how atheists are going to hell or whatever, and he was saying, and I think it was Matt Dillahunty was saying that, your God is the one that does blah, blah, blah. And she's like, stop saying your God. It's all of our gods, and she was going, and, of course they're like, and Jeff's just sitting there and she's like, you guys are the ones that are choosing to send yourself there. And Jeff goes, okay, nope.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. I choose not to go. Now the ball's in your God's court.
Yeah.
So what now? Now he has to choose.
Like I do
because
not
I
want to go there.
choose not to go. So now what does he do? And I was like, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, you just say, nope, no thanks. I don't want to go there, so I choose not to. Now what happens?
I'd like to opt out of the hell.
Yep. So now what happens?
I'd like to take hell off the table as an option.
Sure, yeah. I choose no.
Now I like to have God stop playing hide and seek, show himself, so that way I know if it's fucking true.
Right. Okay. So this is directly counter to his, quote, omnipotence, right? If he's all powerful, there's got to be other options. Right?
Oh, yeah.
He can't be forced to anything, right? Certainly not by a mere mortal.
Well, really, if he were omnipotent, there's no way he could be forced to do anything.
Well, that's
he
what I'm
couldn't
saying.
even force
Yeah.
himself because
It's already done.
That's a self-refuting circular argument.
All right. So let's assume that God is for realsies, and he's forced to send a
For
soul.
Rizzles.
Yay, God! I'm so happy.
And he's forced to send a soul to hell.
Boo, God! That's not good.
Right? Are there no other options? Is hell the only option? Even if we assume that he's forced to do it, is hell the only option at that point?
That you would have to be tortured and suffer for all eternity.
Couldn't he just make you immortal on Earth?
Couldn't he just send you to the Superman crystal prison that's floating out in space?
Or send you to one of those Mormy ones.
Okay. So that was my second. So you guys covered my second reason, which was God could simply put the soul in a location light years or an infinite distance away from the good kids without the pointless torture.
Yep.
Right. So that's one option.
Yeah, couldn't you just make a second heaven? Like, you've been really good, you go here. You kind of fucked up a little bit, you go here.
Yep.
You really fucked the pooch, you're going there.
Well, if his
Sounds like Mormon heaven.
I know, it's Mormy heaven.
well, yeah. Well, what we're talking about here is separation, right? So the whole thing about fire and brimstone and all that, that's all pointless. If his whole goal, we already know it's not deterrence. We covered that. If it's separation, he could have accomplished that a bunch of ways without all the pain and suffering that he's going to, right? And one of those is to, like you guys were saying, put you anywhere else.
I mean, he fucking created a universe in fucking 6 days, then took a nap.
What about
space is infinite. I mean, realistically, God could put every single person an infinite distance apart from every other person.
Well, or what about where is heaven anyway, right? So what if he could just put you a millimeter away from somebody else, but you're unable to physically react or see? I mean, there's all kinds of options for separation that don't involve this useless torture,
eternal torture, right?
What about this? This was the first option I came up with. At death, God could simply return the offender's soul to a non-existent state as it was before birth. That would satisfy the requirements, and it doesn't show a lack of power on God's end either.
Turn you back into a spermie.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, just non-existent. Just like you were before you were born.
Maybe he does.
That satisfies the requirement.
Maybe all these ghost hunter fucks going around are just finding the people that weren't good enough to go to the heavens, but not quite bad enough to go to the hells.
But we're saying not even exist as a ghost. You're just nothing. You're just.
That's why Ryan's saying in between. But we already know because the Vatican has recanted on limbo, so that's not an option either.
What is the Vatican has recanted on limbo? What do you mean?
There's no limbo.
No in between state. Just you're heaven or hell.
Right. So he was saying maybe the ghosts are the in between, and I said there's no such thing anymore.
Meh.
So those are two really much more humane options.
Sure.
Than hell itself.
Yep.
Right, and we came up with a ton of them off the top of our heads, off our mere mortal little teeny.
I mean,
head.
and also,
I'd not even thought about that. I'd actually never even given that a thought until just now.
Which one?
The separation thing.
Because
the separation and the different options available.
So right
I
off,
never thought about it really
never
either.
thought about that ever before.
Yeah,
and Lucifer was an angel. He's a fallen angel. You got put there. You got his own little kingdom to rule over. You got all these good angels. Why don't you just give them like, hey, Angel Morona, you got a B on your last exam. Guess what? We're putting you over here in snotty kid heaven. All these people are snots. They're fucking obnoxious. They're all the atheists, basically. We're going to let you control them. Sorry.
Well, yeah. So God created a separation of Satan and his angels from God and his own angels, but yet still allowed Satan the power to control humans.
Yes.
To some extent, when he could clearly, according to Christians, has the power to stop all of that, and yet didn't. So, but there's a myriad of options within the two that we've named for separation without the sadistic nature that hell represents.
It's true.
So, did God create hell for separation? I would say obviously not, unless he's not loving nor merciful. Yeah. Which is not what's taught about him. And I don't think any Christians would be willing, or Muslims would be willing to admit that he is that kind of a sadist. Mm-hmm. But it's a possibility. Assume it's not. But
I would say God's a sadist. I mean, after all, he did fucking pin his own kid about on a cross and make him fucking lay dead for 3 days.
Well, sure.
Well, half kid.
But they would. Yeah. But Christians, Muslims, and Jews would never say that.
No,
right?
No. I mean, based on the persona they want us to believe he is, they would never take either of these two options.
No.
All right.
I'm curious to know what other options they could provide.
If they were posed with these problems,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they'd get some pretty twisted apologetics, I'm sure,
Yeah.
or just
We need
you gotta have faith.
we need to get an actual theist in the show sometime.
I was going to say, I don't know that I've ever seen any debate or discussion between a theist and non-theist on specifically the subject of hell.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
that would be a good topic for discussion, I think.
Sure would be. We've had
Can we
fun
find
with
one?
it. I have had.
I fucking, like I said, I love talking about hell.
Yeah,
and
but
I had
finding
never-
a theist that'd be willing to come here and talk to hell with us.
Yeah. I love talking about hell. It's one of my favorite things to discuss, with theists or non-theists.
Yeah.
And I had never even considered the idea of, separation as being one of the justifications for hell and why that's a flawed argument for hell.
I'm glad I could
Thanks,
increase
Matt.
your
Well,
arsenal.
now, if we do get a theist on, we played our cards out to them already.
That's okay.
fine.
It doesn't matter. That
Yeah.
what are they going to say to this? I mean, then this is an incredibly condensed version.
Yeah.
I usually spend a few hours on these and try to work them down to a small. So, but which moves us on to the third one, which actually almost took no time at all because it's absolutely not possible. I mean, the remaining possibility is hell for rehabilitation.
Well, you don't get to leave it, so how can it be for rehabilitation?
All right, yeah. So this is an
Yeah.
obvious no right from the get go.
But you know what the funny thing about rehabilitation is?
What?
Where do you think the term prison comes
Amy
from?
Winehouse would never go there?
No.
Too soon.
So
Tried to make me go, and I said, no, no, no.
our modern prisons
Uh-huh.
used to be called penitentiaries.
Yeah, still are sometimes.
Sometimes. Penitentiary
For
comes from the
penitence.
word penance
Yeah.
because they used to lock you in a little 4x4 cell with a Bible. And that was it, thinking.
Still do that sometimes.
So, well, I mean, they gave him a little bigger cell now. They let him walk out of it. But it used to be
8 by
basically you're locked in confinement in a room with a Bible, and that's going to fix you. You're going to find penance while locked in there through the Bible.
Right.
And that didn't go over so well. I think we made a lot of lunatics, a lot of people go insane,
Yeah.
and created more psychopaths by doing that because they literally fucking went out of their brain sitting in a cell reading the fucking Bible for 2 years.
Right.
I would go out of my brain reading the Bible for 2 years if I wasn't in a 4x4 room or 8x8 or however big you wanted to make it.
I would just come out more confused. Like, wait, this don't make sense. Dr. Seuss, please help me.
I have some questions.
All right. So yeah, like you said, hell sentence is eternal, which strikes me as merely a fear tactic heavily employed by Christians and Muslims. So no parole, forever punishment, no rehab. Right. Even if someone does get better, they'll never be released anyway. So the verdict on rehab is no way from me. Not even possible. So basically, Christians and Muslims have maintained that hell is for those who have, quote, lived in sin and or rejected God. Yet none of the possibilities proposed by even mere mortals makes any sense. So why is God so terrible at planning and executing? The only option is that God is not real, right? Hell is not real, or God is a sadistic asshole. None of which are options religious people want to accept.
No.
And neither of them are good for religious people at all. I mean, either option, they're kind of fucked. If hell exists, you must accept that God prefers useless punishment to unconditional forgiveness, which again is counter to what they preach, right? That God is ever forgiving and all loving, right?
Because obviously he has situations where he can't forgive because he sends you to places where you can't leave.
Obviously, yeah, he can't, right? Or if hell does not exist, then God does not inflict sadistic, senseless, unnecessary torture. The probability is then that man, not God, created hell.
Well, I mean, that's exactly, we created heaven and hell.
Right. And so I have this quote from Robert Ingersoll.
I was going to say Robert Englund, the guy who played fucking...
Not Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, Robert Ingersoll. I think he was a mathematician. But he said, the myth of hell represents all the meanness, all the revenge, all the selfishness, all the cruelty, all the hatred, all the infamy of which the heart of man is capable.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah. He was an atheist as well. But
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm curious to know what the theist arguments for hell would be.
Yeah,
And how they would refute some of the things that we've said.
I think they'd be tough. They'd be tough to refute. They'd be forced into corners a few times. I would be surprised if they didn't retreat to the faith card. That
we can't know the mind of God.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that would be their only out, really.
Well, I mean, they'll say
that's what
you can't know the mind of God, but at the same time, they say, well, he's an all-loving person. You just have to believe in him. Well, then how do you know that if you don't know the mind of God? I mean,
that's a great point.
Well, yeah, I mean, they claim that you can't know the mind of God, yet they claim to also know the mind of God for so many other specific things.
They know exactly what God wants and how God wants things done, but you can't know God. So how the fuck do you know what he wants, how he wants it done?
They know with whom God would like you to sleep or have sex, in what position, how often.
Yeah.
I mean, God probably doesn't even like the name God. He's probably actually named Mark.
The manner in which you do it, whether or not you use protection while doing so.
Well, this one is particularly tricky, I think, because you could simply, by analogy, you could say, "Dear theist, your child does, your 4-year-old child opens the peanut butter and throws it, in the chocolate sauce or whatever, and throws it all over the house and the carpet, and whatever thing that a toddler might do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you then justified to take that child down into the basement, chain them up, and whip them every day, all day for, say, 10 years for that infraction?
Don't spare the rod.
Of course you're not. And nobody would say that was okay, right? What about 20 years? What about 20 million years, right? What about infinity? No, of course you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So why, right? I mean, right there, what the fuck are they going to say?
But if you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
True.
This is going to make me go on an internet search to find out. Find
what are
any kind of discussions that I can for the justification for hell.
Yeah, to defeat the hell argument.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's a talked about subject. Most of it's all about like God's divinity and if God's real. People don't. I mean, I don't see a lot of debates going into, well, why hell?
Why is he such an asshole?
Yeah. I mean, on its face, for me, and it's because it's one of the reasons why it's always been one of my favorite subjects, is because it's always been so simple and clear-cut and self-refuting and contradictory, the entire concept of hell, that I've not done any huge amounts of research about it, because it's always been so obviously fucking wrong, right? That I haven't ever had to do any kind of real deep dive research into it, and now I'm kind of curious to know what the arguments, the theistic arguments for hell would be.
These couple episodes have been eye opening for me as well, and I can't help but think, during preparing for this, how brilliant this would have been a subject for Hitchens.
Oh yeah,
he often talked about the failures of God, but mostly the failures of the representatives of God on earth. But he would have killed it on the topic of hell, and and like you said, nobody gets into it.
Yeah.
Well, because most often it goes to the point where it's saying, well, God's omnipotent, he knows everything. Why do you create this guy who's going to create this hell? Why do you create sin? So you can go there when he knows what's going to fucking happen in the first place. So fucking hell's out the door. And that's usually kind of where it stops. But then going into the thing, well, okay, let's suppose there is a God, and he did create this hell. Why the fuck would he do that?
Right.
Well, maybe I'll throw a feeler out to Facebook and see if any of my friends know a theist who would be willing to come on the show and talk to us about hell. Because
I don't think we're bad people to talk to. We're not overly aggressive. Maybe we might have to chain Matt down to the floor though. He gets he gets going on some shit.
Well, no, I mean I would like it to be the kind of thing where, I can throw a feeler out, have people put me in contact with somebody who I can have a little bit of a discussion back and forth and say, these are our thoughts on hell.
Yeah.
How do you refute them? What would you say? I would love to have a discussion,
It'd be nice to have a very non-combative discussion where we can actually discuss instead of
I'd like that
hacking
too.
at each other's heads the whole time.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know what you mean by that. I'd like that too.
Yeah. I mean, 'cause that's honestly the way most theist debates turn out, is kind of a
very adversarial
attack, and it's like, it's.
I think the hard thing around here about hell is that just like everything in the Mormon Church is there's no official stance. It's a really gray area. It's all fuzzy and soft, and nobody even, if you ask a born again Christian if they're saved or not, they'll tell you if they are or if they aren't.
Oh yeah.
If you ask a Mormon if they're going to the celestial kingdom, none of them have any fucking idea where they stand.
I gave my
They
10% for fucking 50
They
years.
have no idea.
I hope so.
Yeah, but you have to repent if you're not repenting every second of every day, then you don't know, right? And so hell again is another one of those weird issues where some think that guys like Hitler may be there, and others think that he's not. And so
I would
in
say
Utah, finding a Mormon who's going to have any kind of a strong position on hell is going to be tricky.
Yeah, there's always the one person that comes to mind when I think of any.
Yeah,
one we've talked about before.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. And
is he Mormon?
No,
okay.
He's
there you go.
He's a Calvinist. So.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the Douglas Wilson, Matt Slick style Calvinist.
I would say.
Fuck Matt Slick.
Well, both of those guys are in Idaho, which is why I ask.
Yeah,
was Matt Slick actually? He's in Idaho.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he's in Idaho. Let's go up and visit him someday.
Yeah, his daughter Rachel is a fucking badass. His daughter Rachel is an atheist.
Oh, okay.
And thinks her dad is just full of horse shit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he totally is.
Well, yeah,
but he's also
going every single one of his YouTube videos
videos
and say your daughter's right.
Yeah. Well, my God, did you listen to the discussion between Matt Dillahunty and Matt Slick?
Most of it. I listened to about the first hour, I think.
Yeah. Was that Dogma Debate?
That was Atheist Experience.
Oh no, he was. Atheist Experience. Probably listened to the whole thing because he went on Matt Slick's show.
Oh right.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a fairly recent thing.
Oh, then that was when Dillahunty called into Slick.
Yeah, because he just called into Matt Slick radio show about a month, not even a month ago, probably.
Where they were on there, and Matt Slick wanted to talk about, Matt Dillahunty wanted to address Matt Slick and the Dillahunty fallacy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was on his. I'm trying to remember the name of his show right now. I can't remember. It was because he does a Google Hangout
Magic
show.
Machinations of Matt Slick.
Well, he's Carm.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
He's Carm.
Well, it has like
Matt
something
Slick is.
like God Hammer or something like that.
Oh God, of course, yeah. Thor?
No, I think that's what he calls it. Like
It
his
should
YouTube.
just be called Thor because that was the original God Hammer.
Yeah, I think is
Mjolnir. Mjolnir is Thor's hammer.
Well, whatever. I don't care about Marvel.
It's not Hammer of God or something like that. And maybe it's someone else I'm thinking of. I can probably.
I think it's Hammer of God.
That's what I think it is Hammer.
Oh,
of
Hammer
God
of God, yeah.
For Matt Slick's YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want some entertainment and to get really mad at something, just watch that.
I don't send our listeners to Matt
Yeah,
Slick.
the Matt
I'm not
Slick,
trying to.
Hate
the
that
Matt
guy.
Slick discussion with Matt Dillahunty that I listened to recently. It was Matt Slick sounded so fucking childish and petulant and just.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell Matt Dillahunty totally ruffled his feathers, and he was in full fucking strut mode. Like,
Never mind. It's
calm
not
the fuck down, dude.
It's not that. It's Bible thumping wing nut
Bible thumping wing nut show
is his show on YouTube.
I don't think that's what it's called.
It is. That's his show. That's Matt Slick's show.
Matt Slick calls his show the Bible thumping wing nut show.
That's probably kind of like how we adopt words like heathen and heretic,
Yeah.
things that are supposed to be, they're supposed to be derogatory, and you just
There's this show with Aaron Ra.
Mm-hmm.
When I was just before Matt Slick's.
I
Matt
like
Dillahunty's
Aaron a lot. Aaron's got some great stuff. That YouTube video about Flintstones archaeology that Aaron Ra has is fucking great.
Did you guys? So you've seen my T-shirt. That's the ramen, not the one I'm wearing tonight.
Oh, I guess
though I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too. That one's good. I don't like
the Tuscans Raiders. The Tuscans Raiders.
But I like that shirt. It's clever.
But no, I have that other shirt. That's the ramen podcast, which is Mark Nebo and Aaron Ra, and
the top ramen podcast.
So Mark Nebo's a total badass. I love the guy, and he's going to be the MC for the Pennsylvania Freethinkers Conference. I apologize, Brian and Mark, that I can't think of the exact name of what it's called right now. But Mark is going to be the MC for this conference or convention, and as part of his bio, he says something like, it lists all of his credits and everything. He and his wife Shannon started the Be Secular community and have done all of these other great things. And then it says something along the lines of, And Mark also has the greatest beard east of Dan Ellis.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Oh, that was fucking hilarious. I posted
good.
a link to it. I thought it was really funny.
That's good. True. We were just talking about how shitty mine is because I've been too lazy to shave.
I honestly hadn't even noticed. That was...
Which is funny because before we've talked about that, and I've said it's just really bad and you're like, "Oh, it looks like it'd be all right." And no, it's not. And I've just been not shaving, and it's bad.
Yeah, and I haven't shaved my head in a month.
Yeah,
So I've actually got a big bald spot.
It actually comes in a little bit heavier in the front than I would have expected.
Yeah, but the razor still doesn't know it's there.
The razor just glides over it like nothing.
It's like
Like a butter.
So I usually just use it on like a no guard on the razor and the trimmers, and I just kind of do that usually.
Yeah.
And it literally makes no noise change when you turn it on until I hit the middle of my like the top of my head.
That's when it does the grrr.
Yeah, and then no noise again for a second, then back to noise.
Yeah, see, I totally have the opposite problem. Like I don't have issues up top at all.
Yeah. no.
Matt has
You know?
Bradley Cooper hair.
Right, but you guys both have beards, and
Oh, I don't have a beard.
well, you can.
Oh, I can, but I'm just not allowed to.
Can you
'cause of
grow a
work.
good beard?
Yeah, you're not allowed.
Yeah,
to
I'm not allowed to at work though.
Well, but can you?
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you were allowed, can you
when
grow
I
a
was
good beard?
when I
Yeah,
was
we talked about that.
transitioning from military to civilian, I had just a bushy beard for like 2 months,
Yeah.
where I was literally living off of ramen noodles and PBR and
The flesh of dead animals on the side of the road.
Yeah.
walking to the gas station to get my ramen noodles and PBR because I didn't want to put gas in my car because I had no money. I literally, when I left the military until I got picked up with my new civilian job, when I got my first paycheck from my civilian job, I had $100 left in my bank account.
Wow.
Because I still had to pay my rent, my utilities, and all that stuff for those 3 months, and I didn't have a whole lot of cash saved up because the military don't pay that well.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I had $100 left in my bank account when I got my first.
Yeah,
when I got back
the
to
military doesn't pay well. It's a lot of the time it's the little fringe benefits or perks that really help you out when you're active duty, right? I mean,
yeah,
you can get
free health care.
free healthcare. You get the
Free education.
the housing allowance, all of that good stuff.
Even my housing allowance, I think my housing allowance is like $450 a month. Yet my rent for my apartment was $650.
Yeah.
So I had to pay $250 out of pocket for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's not really, all of the fringe benefits aren't really money in your pocket, but they sure fucking help a whole lot while you're in.
Yeah,
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when you deploy, you're tax free, and you get all the hostile fire pay, the combat pay. I mean, that stuff adds up nicely. Then if you're married, you get all your separation pay.
Yep.
So you can. Then again, I was like, yeah, I went on a 6 month.
You can clean
deployment.
house if you don't want to ever see your fucking family.
Right.
That's like I'd be like, I'd go on a
maybe
6 month
die.
deployment. And be like,
And maybe die. Yeah.
like, yeah, I baked $8,000, and I like, oh, this contractor makes $12,000 a month. Fuck him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kills me that they pay. And it happens all over throughout every government agency.
Yeah,
You get
privatizing.
you get
you
contractors in there who make fucking bank.
A
I mean,
shitload.
the government pays them so fucking much money, and they're contractors, which means that they jump from contract to contract to contract, and they're generally speaking 6 months to 2 years for any government contract, which means that you have this constant churn of people who don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
I think
And it takes you get a 6 month contract to bring in people to work on something that it takes them 6 fucking months to figure out what the fuck is going on,
Oh yeah.
and then they're gone.
I mean, I think
It's
there were.
it's a huge government contracts fucking make me so mad. Like,
Well, they're all mercenaries. I mean,
Well, not all of them. Blackwater's what?
Okay.
But those guys are making like $16,000 a month.
all right. How many of them are mercs?
Not all of them.
well, and I'm not
Well,
even
not
I'm
all
not
of
even
them,
talking.
but I'm just saying
I'm not
most
even
of them
talking
aren't.
like combat or
Most of them
military
aren't?
stuff.
No.
I'm talking
No.
government contracts. Period.
Yeah,
Well,
like
generally.
even here stateside.
Yeah, I
Getting
mean,
paid.
at federal agencies like the fucking IRS, where we have
yeah.
contractors, and a lot of them are good people, and they try to do a good job, but it takes so fucking long to get them even up to speed on what the fuck is going on.
I guess
that by the time they know what's going on, they're gone.
Oh yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to really dig at here is that this idea that generally Republicans have that privatizing everything is an advantage for, but right and
And it's not.
No, and it's
No.
not. It's not.
It's not.
Right? And socialized medicine has become a derogatory term. Yeah, socialize the shit. Yes, do. Take it out of the hands of doctors who charge $12,000 for one pair of braces.
And why the fuck is there this middleman of an insurance company? Why can't the government or some other agency just pay my doctor directly? Like, I don't understand why I have to pay somebody to pay the insurance company to pay my doctor. Why does the insurance company is there to make a fucking profit off of being the fucking middleman for just taking money from you and giving it to somebody else?
Yep. And never,
why we need to have a single payer
giving
system.
it back if they can help it.
Yeah, they're not there for your benefit. They're not there to help you. They're there to make a fucking profit.
And if you get sick and you end up spending more money than they can handle, guess what? Your premium just went up to fucking offset that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so did everyone else's.
Yeah. But
I've never understood that shit.
I know.
We had a few years ago one of our fire stations that got renovated. Put a larger stall onto it so we could accompany the bigger engines that we're getting in and put different trucks in there because they wouldn't fit. It was too small of a stall because an old, probably a 1960s era fire station that was there. So they gutted the whole thing. Built a larger stall on the outside of it, redid the day room, redid the kitchen, redid the bedrooms and all that stuff. But the outside structure stayed the same besides the stall they added onto it. Right around $2 million. Roy City, right out the gate from the fire department, got a brand new, high-tech, completely fucking badass fire station. $500,000. Way better than what we got. I mean, if a guy 3 rooms down from you farts in his sleep, you hear it. The walls are paper fucking thin. Nothing works. Everything breaks inside of it within a month.
So you're still dealing with exhaust issues there.
Actually, the new issue is garage doors.
What's the issue with the garage doors?
They keep failing, and the fire trucks keep hitting them.
Oh, that's not good.
We've had
They just drop?
yeah.
Oh.
We've had the station that I'm at right now. There's 6 garage doors on that station. 4 of them have dropped onto the middle of the fire truck as it's pulling into the station and completely wrecked the whole door.
And damage the truck, I'm sure.
And one of the trucks that damaged it was about $30,000 worth of damages of it because it hit the actual turret on the top of it, one of our crash trucks, and completely destroyed it. The thing is most places don't use these crash trucks anymore. Since we're the military, we still use it. So getting parts to fix it is like, well, we have to basically have some guys sit there on a fucking lathe and build one by hand.
That's the other thing, too. I mean, when you look at the funding the different federal agencies get, I worked for, I used to do contract work. So I know that contractors themselves aren't bad people. They try to do what they can to get the job accomplished that they've been hired to do. But they don't have the background knowledge, and they're not going to be there forever, and they know they're not going to be there forever, so they do what they have to get by and to fulfill the terms of their contract. So, I used to do tons of contract work, programming and shit like that. And, one of the gigs that I had was working at the DOD as a contractor. And the DOD has so fucking much money, they don't know what to do with it. I mean, it would come to fiscal year end, and in October they would walk around and hand people a catalog and say, here's a catalog. What do you need? What do you need? What do you want? What sounds good? We have X amount of dollars that we have to burn, because if we don't burn it this time, if we don't burn it through this fiscal cycle,
we ain't going to get it next one.
We're not going to get it next time, because they'll go, well, you didn't use these funds. Obviously, you don't need them, so we're going to cut your budget. So they would walk around and ask you to buy shit so that they could spend the money, so that they would be sure to get that same money next year.
And I hate that, because we end up buying so much useless fucking shit that gets put in our fire trucks. Like our Jaws of Life. Everybody's heard of the Jaws of Life.
Yeah.
We had nice ones. We had newer hydraulic pumps and everything, and new cords and new blades, and they're all really nice equipment. Well, they needed to spend money on something, so they got these e-hydraulics, battery-operated ones. So you don't have to have a pump for all that kind of stuff. So they got rid of all the good stuff we had, and they put those pieces of shit on our fucking trucks. So they had to spend like $100,000, so they bought those things. You literally get 2 doors off a car, the thing's fucking dead.
Yeah.
May I just offer my opinion as the only non-federal employee here?
Yeah.
Sure.
What about education, perhaps? Like, what the fuck is happening with funds allocations in this government?
Yeah.
Like here's two federal employees complaining about the way that funds are being spent.
It's the way the system is set up, though.
Yeah.
I agree.
If you have $100,000 budget and you don't spend that $100,000 in that year, next year you only get $80,000. But if you spend that $100,000, next year you might get a $120,000 budget because you spent all your money in that budget. So it's a way to basically increase your budget every year.
I know.
Well, and it's a strain.
And in moving from the DOD that was just fucking lousy with money. I mean, just fucking filthy with fucking cash coming out of their asses. I mean, the DOD, I mean, if you look at the budget for the United States and look at the chunk that the fucking DOD takes out of everything, it's the biggest fucking slice of the pie.
Yeah.
And, you know, so going from the DOD to the IRS. So at the DOD, I had fucking, like I had 2 laptops, fucking a desktop, all the monitors I could need, a fancy fucking chair, my own super nice cubicle, fucking external attached hard drives, any kind of software I wanted, anything I wanted to get my job done. I was fucking sure, we'll give it to you, Dan. No problem. Then I go to the IRS. When I started at the IRS, they were still using fucking Windows XP and IE6. And this was, you know, this was within the last 5 years. Within the last year, I was just updated to Windows 7 and IE10, which was then just recently upgraded to 11. And to get 2 monitors for the one fucking shitty piece of fucking trash, old piece of shit fucking laptop that I have, to get 2 monitors to be able to attach to that as a programmer so that I can read the specification on one screen and program on the other was a huge fucking deal. Like, I don't know if we can afford that expenditure, and that's really bad. When you look at the types of technology that are available versus what we had at the time and what we have to fucking use to get our job done, it's fucking ridiculous. And then you see them spending, you know, multi-millions and billions of dollars on these fucking contractors that come and go, and it just fucking drives me nuts.
You know what this problem all boils down to? Fucking Jesus.
That sounds homoerotic.
Oh, I just thought we're an atheist podcast, so I'll throw some atheist shit in there.
Yeah, well, I don't know about fucking Jesus, but
Jesus fucking Christ. That's one of my favorite memes, is the picture of Jesus riding the other Jesus.
Yeah.
Arm in the air like he's waiting for his 8 seconds.
And he's fucking Christ.
Jesus is fucking Christ, yeah.
I see a lot of people posting. I have one buddy that loves posting Jesus riding a dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a t-shirt.
Yeah, he posts shit with that all the time. And it's
Wait, who does?
One of the guys I work with that loves posting Jesus riding a dinosaur. No matter what it is, it can be for anything. And it's Jesus riding a dinosaur.
Happy birthday, here's Jesus riding a dinosaur.
Yeah, did someone do that for you on your...
No.
Was it? I thought there was on Facebook. I thought I saw a happy birthday, Dan Ellis, and it had Jesus riding a dinosaur.
I don't remember seeing that.
You need to check Facebook. I might be wrong.
Possibly. I don't know. I would have to double check. Perhaps I'll do that shortly.
Like right now.
Maybe.
Well, so I was thinking in the next coming shows, I mean, we still have plenty more mistakes of Jesus to continue with. But we could start hitting some of the logical fallacies and stuff as we move along, I think. What do you guys say?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important too, because I think a lot of them get overlooked. And just reading this article by this quote astronomer that works for
I think he might have invented a few fallacies.
Well, perhaps, but I mean,
sun fallacy.
He was going off on his own little fallacy train.
But I mean, like, you know, poisoning the well and those kinds of things, which are really often overlooked, you know, or unrecognized. And so just to kind of, and I'm guilty of it as well. You know, I don't catch every fallacy ever, but
sure.
You know, there's only one Dillahunty, right? So,
guy's really good.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he's super sharp on that stuff for sure.
Yeah, I would say Dillahunty's probably, I would say he's probably the greatest atheist debater out right now.
Which is, we do have, I think Texas is our 3rd largest state that listens to our podcast. So I don't know if he actually listens to us down there in Texas. I don't know who in Texas is listening to us.
I think Matt could probably debate against a position. I think he could take the position that runs
Yep.
directly contradictory to anything he believes
Yep.
and still kick ass in any debate.
Which
Yeah.
is why the only thing that I run astray with him is his debate on morality, which we talked about before. And I've honestly thought about calling into the atheist experience and trying to,
Here's where I
have
think.
a morality talk, but I figured out to get my ass fucking handed to me anyways.
Well, you would, but I
I
mean,
know.
Yeah, for sure.
here's where I
Like
think.
any of us would, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. No, I wasn't trying to just point you out on that. I mean, I would too, but I think Dillahunty fails on one level as far as being. Well, I was going to say as being the best, which is what you said, but that's not exactly true.
Oh, he's very good.
No,
I love listening to him talk.
I would say he probably is the best, but I think if there was something he failed at, it's connecting to a general audience. Do you know what I'm saying? Like even when he like that debate he had against Cy Ten Bruggencate, right? Cy comprehended only the very minimal amount of everything that Matt was trying to explain, right? And like I think Matt's so far ahead of.
So Matt kind of talks over people's heads a little bit, you think? Yeah.
Yep. I think he's a little bit. I think he's great. He's one of my favorites for sure.
I love when a theist
A
calls
little
into the
too,
atheist
a little
experience and he's on.
too,
He's just so good at
a little
it.
too on the, a little too far on the intellectual side, maybe that not.
The
Not
philosophical
every, yeah,
side,
that
for
not
sure.
everybody can follow exactly what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to kind of be caught up on a lot of the. I mean, it's beyond philosophy 101.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, to even know where he's going or why he's attacking an argument from a certain perspective, and I just think most people, I don't know, I don't want to sit here and criticize Dillahunty. I think he's fantastic,
No,
and I think he probably is the best.
I think that's a valid criticism, and I think he would probably agree with you. I just
think most people don't get it.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that I've noticed when I hear him speak sometimes is that he speaks so fast. Even I, who I think has a pretty good grasp on a lot of the things, on a lot of the concepts that he's talking about, a lot of the ideas that he's talking about. Sometimes I have a hard time listening and digesting what he's saying while he's saying it. You know what I mean?
That's part of what I mean, though, because you know, if you're to think about something you specialize in, right, something you know really well, better than anything else. You know, I don't know that Matt knows this better than anything else, but I'm just saying, to put it in perspective, for me, it's like art stuff. You know, for you, it might be programming. I don't know, whatever. For you, it might be fighting fires. I don't know, whatever it is, photography, whatever it is. But somebody starts to make a statement, right, and you know that they're beneath you in skill level and understanding. There's a couple of key phrases, and as soon as you hear them, you know exactly where they're going, and you know exactly how to respond. So then it's just like you almost can't wait for them to be done because you already know how to defeat that. So it's as soon as they're done, you're just like, bam, and everyone else is trying to follow this argument, and then all of a sudden you're just like, whack, and then you're just like, wait, holy shit, there was a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yeah.
I think he's just so sharp on that stuff.
Well, and I was going to say, you know, that I could flip that too and say that there are other theist debaters that I feel the same way about, like
Sure.
William Lane Craig in particular.
Yeah, Cy Ten is not one of them.
No, Cy Ten is the layman's
the lowest. Yeah,
yeah the layman's debater.
William
right?
Lane Craig. Yeah,
William Lane Craig is obviously very intelligent and very, very cerebral. He has a great vocabulary. He's well spoken, and a lot
Highly
of the
educated.
times, highly educated. And I think a lot of the times, the arguments that he uses as a theist are lost on other theists because they don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Of course, yeah, of course, they're lost on atheists.
Yeah,
I've had to spend a lot of time going through piece by piece, figuring out what the hell he's actually
I have
talking
too.
about.
I have too, definitely.
And Kalam, he has but Craig is different than Dillahunty. I mean, because he has an ability to take a specific philosophical argument and stretch it out, add all kinds of words, add premises, points, all this kind of, you know, there's a whole bunch of material that Craig has for Kalam that aren't in Kalam.
Right.
That's Craig's Kalam.
They're Craig's specialty additions to the argument.
Right, and he's got about 5 or 6
to the
of
Kalam
them.
argument. Yeah.
And he's got 5 or 6 of those different well-known arguments where he's added 10 or whatever steps to each one.
Mm-hmm.
And so they become incredibly convoluted and a little bit difficult to follow.
It seems that
not that. But
yeah. Well, and it seems that as you watch the debates with Craig, as you watch, and you can follow the timeline from when he started using Kalam
Yep.
up through, his more present debates, and he adds more and more things to it each time.
Yeah, as he gets more and more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he starts to put more things in here and there. Yeah. Matt Slick does the same thing. Especially he'll get comments back from people he's debating against, and they'll say, "Well, I'm not clear on this," or "What about and like talking about that debate with where Matt Slick called into the Atheist Experience and talked to Matt Dillahunty, and he asked Slick asked Dillahunty a question about one of his premises, and Dillahunty said, "Well, I don't know," and so Slick jumps all over that. You don't know? You don't know, because that's unacceptable.
How can you not know?
Yeah, that's unacceptable for a religious person.
I know everything. They already start the Bible.
Because they start with the answer, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of clarifying his point, he went ahead and added that as part of his argument.
Part of his argument against whatever.
Right, and so then Dillahunty had to come back later and say, well, instead of Matt Slick going back and refining his argument, making it better, he actually added the flaw and made it worse.
Yeah.
And so that's what they do, but it's so convoluted.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me most, and that makes Slick far less respectable in my eyes, is that he can't maintain his composure.
No,
like anytime he gets backed into a corner or his feathers are ruffled,
his smirky laugh,
he gets so fucking petulant and acts like a little fucking kid. Well, you just said this and that. I mean, he resorts to a fucking schoolyard bully.
Yep.
And it really fucking bothers me.
Yeah. He kind of has that persona anyway.
Yeah.
He reminds me of kind of a locker room bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where if you don't agree with everything I'm saying, then I'm going to fucking attack you and act like a little fucking kid about it. Like,
yeah, kind of submit or else kind of an attitude. And
yeah, he gets way too emotionally wrapped up in it. And it's like, we're having a discussion here, man. If you can't fucking maintain your composure and an emotional reaction to something I say, then you probably shouldn't be here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
which is why he's not at the level that he could be.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly why.
Yep.
His arguments are just as every bit as convoluted as Craig's, and complicated. And he uses tag as opposed to Kalam, which is Craig's bread and butter.
Yeah.
And tag is not one that's used very commonly at all. I mean, he's got a great little hole there to exploit. That sounded terrible. But
a little hole to exploit.
A great little hole to exploit.
But no,
sounds like German porn.
You can find pictures of his arguments.
Yeah. Don't Google search that image.
Turn safe search off.
Don't Google a great little hole to exploit.
Especially with Slick involved. But he's got a little niche there, right? That really could have propelled him, I think, to the level of Bill Craig or something like that. And he's just failed to because he's such a little bitch.
Yeah.
Where William Lane Craig has figured out how to actually still be somewhat professional about it. Yeah. Even though sometimes you can see when he's frustrated or when he feels like he has an edge, like he did with Sam Harris at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And he takes advantage where he'll say like, well, I can't believe you called all my colleagues here, these great men, psychopaths. And Sam's like, that is not what I was saying, but Craig will do that, but in a much different way where with Slick, the tone.
He's much more composed and refined.
Yeah, the tone is so obvious with Matt Slick where he's just, no,
yeah.
I
know you are, but what am I?
Right. Yeah.
I guess my morality argument I wanted to kind of go, not at him with, but kind of suppose was saying that morality is more situation based.
Subjective.
It's not saying subjective, but I'm saying there are certain times when, yes, that objectively is wrong. No matter every time that situation comes up, that is objectively wrong. But subjectively, if this situation is upon you, it might be right to do that. Like the only one, the biggest one I can think of is murder or killing another person. If you are being attacked and that person has got it out, like that person is trying to kill me, you defending yourself to make it so that person can no longer kill you and you kill him in the process. I would say
that modifies the
that would
modifies
be
the position.
that would be all right. But if you go out and intentionally just kill someone, in no situation is that ever right.
I still think you'd have a really difficult time.
I think so too.
Trying to beat Dillahunty on moral relativism.
Yeah,
but I mean that's why I think you can't automatically say killing someone is bad. I mean, there might be a situation where
you can say it, but it's.
But there might be a situation where it's either if that person is trying to kill me by me stopping him from killing me, and if I have to kill him in the process, is that morally objectable for me to save my own life when that person is trying to kill me?
Yeah, and I think he would say no.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's not objective that all killing is wrong.
Well, I don't think that's the position that he's taking, though.
No, but that's what it kind of sounds like he's saying sometimes. I think when I hear someone go objective or subjective, saying, "Well, objectively, then all situations, it's just you can't do it. It's wrong. That boom right there is wrong."
But I think then the argument could be that given this circumstance, objectively speaking, murder is always wrong in this circumstance.
That's why I was kind of saying situationally. If you could evaluate each situation, you can evaluate going. In that situation, yes, wrong. This situation, no, not wrong. Yeah. So you can't bunch up the term into one saying.
So I guess
no matter what, it's wrong.
The question then becomes, how do you determine the difference between situational, I'll say, which isn't really a term for morality, but we'll say situational, like what you're talking about, where every time in this circumstance it is objective, and in this circumstance, whatever, right? Which is what you guys just versus moral relativism, because that's exactly what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I guess my whole thing with morality is
that's a hard one, man.
If it's harming another person, it is wrong. But if something's trying to do harm to you and you're trying to stop that harm, that's the only time where I think harm is justified. If you're trying to stop an initial act,
that's a whole nother interesting point that I haven't thought enough about. But yeah, I mean, I would say for me, if I had to boil it down, it would be do help and don't harm.
Yeah.
But then again, like what you're saying, when you're in certain situations
where the only way to stop that situation from happening could be doing something that would normally be objectively immoral.
Self-preservation and those kinds of things, then I don't know. And I don't know how Matt would answer either. I mean, but he does accept secular objective morality. I know that. And I have a hard time understanding exactly where he's coming from on that part. To me, it sounds...
And like I said in that episode where we were talking about subjective and objective morality, I still...
I'd watched that show that you talked about during that one where you're going back and forth on it.
I still teeter back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there are great arguments on either side of it. And
yeah, I do too. But for me, where it comes down to is just like what you were saying, where you could break it down into different segments and say, well, in this situation, objectively,
yes,
and I agree with that.
Yeah, but you can't do it in a broad sense.
Yeah,
that's why I don't think you can take and say in a broad sense in the whole scheme of it. You cannot say objective morality.
Well, and I think Dillahunty would disagree.
That's where we ever just I would say, well, in this situation, but that means, well, okay, objectively, it's moral in that situation. I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But over here, objectively, it's immoral. That's why I'm like, well, then it's situational. It's depending on the situation, depends on the morality of that outcome.
Well,
which then, no matter what, then subjective morality is out the fucking window. No matter what you say on that, if you break it down to each individual situation and decide what would be moral in that situation to do.
Except for me, okay, so we're looking at this from a perspective of Earth, human. United States,
yes,
right, all this kind of stuff. But and this is really difficult to imagine. But if you think of like an alien planet where the things we find objectionable are considered morally okay, right, like
which we can do if we go to a totally different society on the opposite side of the globe, where something we might object to is
as far as humans
a
go,
norm.
You find a basic sort of morality as far as certain things like stealing and murder and that kind of stuff. Like, generally not okay anywhere you go on Earth. But, like, what if you imagine a place that's an alien planet where those things are considered to be the highest esteem, right? The utmost morality.
Well, I mean, you got.
It's hard to imagine that could be the case.
You got areas in, like, Brazil where there are villages that their sole income is based off of robberies. based off of basically stealing and pulling scams on tourists and
But
on
is
people
that,
that come
but is
through
that
there.
moral or is that necessity? I mean,
That's necessity. So is it
Okay.
immoral for them to have to go to those
Well, and
lengths in
then-
order to supply food for their family?
yeah,
Well, when
I'm
you're-
trying to bring this out a little further. Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say when you're talking about stealing things, and basically, I guess the moral argument would be what causes the least amount of harm, right? So, if I am a poor person in need who has a family who will starve and who will starve to death and die, unless I can go out and steal, unless I can get food from somebody, and the only avenue I have to get anything is to steal it from somebody, I'm causing that person harm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the greater good, right?
Their harm is temporary,
which is more
versus
harm.
either the long time of death if I don't feed my family.
I'm picking their pocket or I'm stealing something from them, but I am helping my family or somebody else to be able to survive, right? So, can you say that theft is objectively immoral?
Well, and this is why Robin Hood is such a compelling story,
Yeah.
right? Because you're taking what's considered a little bit, like a small percentage, from the people who have all the things.
Well,
and then you're giving what's considered a very large amount to people who have nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So that there's something in humans that there's compelling about that. There's
Well, and I was
heroic.
just thinking too that we can come up with specific circumstances or different scenarios in which we can argue the morality of different things, but
For anything.
that doesn't say that there is no objective morality.
It
right?
doesn't say there is.
I mean, you can make arguments against different things, but you still can't say that there is no objective morality.
I don't
out
think.
there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You can say that there are when we're judging different things on a
But situations
on a basis
are very
of,
subjective.
well, we can look at 1,000 different scenarios and 1,000 different things on which we would say something is moral or immoral, and we can say that in this case that would be moral, objectively speaking. But we can't say necessarily that there are no moral absolutes. Right? You can't say that. You can't say that
You lost me.
stealing is always immoral, but that means, or that stealing is sometimes moral or subjective, or is a subjective morality. Right?
And I don't think
But then
morality ties in what's right or wrong.
That doesn't negate that there are no other circumstances in which there is an objective truth and an objective morality.
But see that.
That's why I say. That's why I brought up the situation thing. Going, you'd have to break down the situation in which you're going to be justifying whether it's moral or immoral.
Yep, and
you can't do it on a broad sense.
And I still have a difficulty in figuring out why that isn't considered subjective, because it's all situational, and it is. In one case,
but I'm saying that even we can say that there are a million different things that are subjective, right? That there are. We can say that let's say that there are a million different things that we're judging. We're going to say whether they are subjective or objective. You can point to 999,999 of them that are objective, but you can't discount that there isn't one thing within any of those that is objective. So you can't say that there is no objective morality. Is what I'm saying.
Maybe I'm confused then. Okay, let me reword this and see if it makes. I'm not sure I'm totally following you. So
okay.
let's say there's a million.
And I don't know that I'm being totally.
Let's say there's a
clear.
million.
I understand. I think we're on the same.
I lost you on objective.
Okay.
Right. So let me reword this and see if it's still the same. We take a million examples, and 999, blah, 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 right? All but one case are in favor of stealing for the greater good. Let's say that.
Well, and I'm not even saying that
Because you said
all of the other
objective
nine.
at that point.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that the other
I don't know what that
999
means.
are all related to stealing. I'm saying they could be
Well, I'm
a
just-
wide range of things, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
But you couldn't.
Okay.
But you couldn't say that there is no objective moral truth to anything. You couldn't say that there is no such thing as objective morality. You could say that, in 99.999% of circumstances, we could say that there is that morality is subjective, but you can't say that there is no such thing as an objective moral truth.
Right. But it's still yet undemonstrated.
Like if we have 10 cases of a murder happening or someone being killed, and we agree 5 of them, the person was morally right and just in the killing that happened, and we say 5 of them, the person was not just or right in that what they did or the actions they took.
All right.
So 5 of those are subjectively that killing was okay or objectively okay. Then 5 of them objectively those killings were not okay.
Okay, and you just
But if
lost
you
me
say-
too because
But if you say with those 10 killings, if you say killing is objectively okay, like, well, no, on these 5 cases, we say, or objectively wrong, we're saying, well, in this 5 cases, they were all right in the action they took.
Yep,
They were
and-
saving or doing something that we think is morally okay.
and you just did the exact same thing that Dan did.
Yes.
Which confused me. I was with you on your examples until you said these X amount of cases, 5 cases, are objectively okay or not. Right?
Yes.
That word throws me off because I don't know what you mean by that in
Saying
that situation.
morally,
I mean-
they were in the right place.
Right,
Well, and-
according
and I
to
don't-
what and according to whom and what you know what I'm saying? Like we have to establish something else first before we can say those are objectively
Through the standards set down by a normal society, what did they do?
what does normal mean?
Well, and I don't want
And
to.
whose society?
The society you're in.
And I don't necessarily want to jump to the most hot topic or the flashpoint.
Yeah, do it.
button
Dude,
hot
have
topic
you heard
issue,
this show?
but can you? But I mean, can you ever say that rape is a subjective moral choice?
I only thought of in my head one time ever where it would be all right.
Okay.
And the only one time in my head I ever thought it might be possibly tiny bit right is if you're the last 2 fuckers on this earth.
No, I disagree.
And-
I still would disagree.
And that's where I'm like, well, in order
Yeah,
to
I disagree.
perpetuate the race, you have to have sex,
Yeah.
even though.
and I still would disagree. And
Yeah, I would
that's
too.
That's why I said a little tiny bit. That's the only case where I can think of where.
and that's why I say you can't. You can point to a million other different things, but you can't say that there is no such thing as an objective moral truth.
Yes, and that's why I say on the whole. But when you wrap everything up into one, you can't say everything is objectively has an objective
So-
morality. When you can break it down to
Well, you can't say that everything has an objective
No.
truth, but I'm saying that you. But
there
to say
are
that-
objective truths, but
well,
there
right.
isn't
You can't
a single.
say you can't say that I can point to a million different things that are subjective, and that means that there is no objective morality.
Yes,
right.
You
I
would
agree.
still have to say, that I can find under no circumstance whatsoever that anything would not have an objective moral truth.
Okay, so let me turn this again because I think that's a good example. Is there any situation where rape is subjectively okay?
I think Ryan's.
That is the closest you could
is the
ever
closest
come
you
to
would
an
get that.
example.
But
of,
to me, that's not subjectively okay either.
Well, but that's the key word. That's the
Yep.
2 key words is
Yeah.
to you.
Yep.
Right. To me, that would be bad, and I think we would all probably agree that
it would
that
be bad.
But
the only thing that's positive
Okay,
in it is
so-
that it has to happen in order to perpetuate a race to have kids. Otherwise, there is nothing.
well, but even then, you would have to argue that the objective that. But even then, you're still arguing against something that you're measuring, and to say that there is at its base some objective truth upon which we can say that something. In order to say that something is subjective, you're still measuring it against.
Yes.
Something, right. What is causing more or less harm,
Yep.
and so what at its base gives us that subjective value.
right, and
actually, this
even-
world probably
even-
would be better off if we're all gone.
And yeah, but even introducing an alien race, right, where rape might be objectively good, right? We're still applying our own standards to say that nope, it's not. And even in the most extreme case, like we just talked about, there's still a very, very high level of subjectivity to what we, I think, all agree is an object wrong.
Yeah. Well, and,
So-
and I think we've been talking about this a little bit now, and I think I hit upon the thing that is most important is that in order to say that anything is objective, you're still measuring it against.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what
and
I
so,
mean.
what are you measuring it
And that's
against?
the hard thing is agreeing on a measurement to measure. it
Well,
against.
this is why earlier in my example I was trying to pull this away from Earth and humanity and Americans and all that kind of to say, well, okay, so there's this other group of people that
We don't
think
have to pull away from Earth.
exactly the opposite. Well, but we do though.
You got those the
Yeah, but
Bobo or where those race of chimpanzees are apes. They
Bonobos,
rape
yeah.
bonobos.
No,
they
you're talking
rape
about
all the
chimps.
fucking time.
But what I'm talking about though is let's just hypothetically, right? And flip it 180 degrees, completely inverse, right? Everything we think's good, they think is bad, and vice versa. Everything we think is bad,
Yeah.
they think is right. So with anything on Earth, you're going to find some similarities, right? So I'm just saying, from our perspective, this is a thought experiment, right? To decide subject versus objective, and I think still
that's
really
why one
hard.
of the things it has to be measured against is the society in which it's being the context.
So that's subjective.
But I think that thought experiment fails because if you flip everything that we believe is good on its head and say that everything that we believe is good is then bad, then I mean that would quickly lead to the complete wiping out of whatever civilization you're talking about, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't fail as a thought experiment just because the potential of that species
on that
wouldn't
planet
exist. It still succeeds as a thought experiment because then the only purpose of that thought experiment is not if that species succeeds. The purpose is, does this help us get to the bottom of subjective versus objective morality? If they say murder is good, rape is good, stealing is good, and we say no, these things are bad.
In the context of our planet,
determine that,
right?
Yes, it might be bad. On the context of their planet, it might be
subjective.
It include.
You've already added subjectivity.
Yes, but
so that
added subjectivity based on their societal norms or their society.
Yep,
according to their society,
still subjective.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
but like
what
I said, I'm trying to say is
whether you believe in subjective morality or not, you still have to have something upon which to measure what is moral,
right? Which is the purpose of my thought experiment, because then you flip it completely on its head and say, how does this affect the way we think about morality? I mean, is this purely something that's come through evolution, being on Earth, human in America,
but even if
all
you
that kind of
flip it
stuff?
on its head, they would have to have something to measure it on, right?
In what they measure it on, it would be objectively
moral.
Be. If we have something that we can deem objectively moral, and you flip it on the head, it's the exact opposite.
No,
there.
that cannot be.
How
the
can
case,
it not be the case?
Because if we both think absolutely contradictory things, then that eliminates objectivity altogether. But
that's what I'm kind of saying.
But what Dan is saying, I think, is that if we're going to say that morality is subjective based on all those other elements I've mentioned, Earth, American, whatever it is, human, all that stuff, and then there's this alien race that thinks of everything completely opposite, they're still basing their morality on those things,
on
right?
something
that
they're basing it. I mean, they're basing it on something,
right? That they're Galakians from Omicron Persei 8, and they live in.
I mean, they have
that's their basis.
They have some foundation upon which they're building their moral structure.
So we're right back to subjective morality.
Yeah,
and still not understanding Dillahunty's objective morality.
I mean, if we view objective morality as being the basis for something, we can view it as the foundation, right? So you have a foundation upon which you can make subjective moral arguments.
Right.
But that doesn't say that your foundation is subjective, because you're measuring against something that exists, something that is concrete, that does not change.
Correct.
Which is an argument for an objective moral stance.
Right. But which is why so many religious people are objective moralists, because the Bible is that.
Yeah. And they use that as their standard.
But I would agree.
We can easily reject that as being an objective moral good standard, because there are so many contradictions and so many evils and awful immoral things within the Bible's text that we can say that no, that's not a good justification to say that there's an objective morality, but we can't say that there's no such thing as objective morality.
But I would say that the thing we measured against changes. You can't say that the mind, what a Cro-Magnon man thought was correct or incorrect, is the same as what we might think is correct or incorrect. So through our evolution, we've just made a determination on what is right to do and what is wrong to do. What morally is the right thing to do and what morally is the wrong thing to do in a given situation.
Well, and I would argue that we're not changing the foundation. We're remodeling the house.
Yes.
We're not changing anything that we are measuring it against. We're tearing down the old, out of date, out of style way that we had created our house, upon which, it's still built on this foundational, objective moral truth.
I mean, we could even go back to late 1800s, where nobody had a problem with killing an Indian. Objectively, they had no. I mean, get rid of them. We're going to push them. We're going to go slaughter all the Indians out there. We're going to have all these wars with them.
Yeah, they're the savages.
They're the savages. Yeah. We need to get rid of them. Everybody was on board with that. Nobody disagreed with it. If we did something like that now, it'd be like, whoa, What the fuck did these people do to deserve this?
Well, yeah, and we've learned that that's wrong, and we have a disagreement with our ancestors about how they thought about things, but they still had a foundation that they based those thoughts on.
Yeah.
Right.
And their thoughts then are not the same as our thoughts now.
And we have the same foundation, but a better understanding of the architecture and the things that will make our home more sustainable.
Yeah.
But
We've
we still have
reinforced
that.
it.
But we still have that basic foundation for it, and that basic foundation is the objective moral truth of something.
We've reinforced the structure. We've added more rooms. We've improved upon
We're
it.
using steel framing instead of wood framing.
Yeah, we don't go backwards in our thought. We only go forward.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that. I mean, even though we might think something was objectively immoral now, I think, in the past, they might not have thought this. I mean, they didn't have that thought. They didn't think, well, what I'm doing is wrong.
Sure, but it doesn't negate the fact that there was still a foundation there.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean it's not objective. If
they still had things they thought were wrong. Like, morally, this is wrong. They just hadn't added that to it.
Based on their flawed subjective understanding of the foundation.
And that's why I can't go with saying that morality is objective, because it changes. You add to it. It molds.
If it was objective, it couldn't do that. That's the problem, right? So objectivity necessarily means one solid thing, never changing, never moving, always right or wrong, right? And subjectivity are the waves that come and go in between based on society, race, where you're raised, when you're raised, all that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so trying to suss out all of those waves of, quote, morality throughout time and
I'm not saying that morality never changes. I'm not saying that our views of specific actions never change. But the views
don't matter. That's part of the
I'm saying that the basis on which we view whether something is moral or not has a foundation. It has a base. It has something that we measure it against.
Yes.
Right, but is that base that we compare subjectivity against, is that the objective morality?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say that it's not that the base changes. It's that our understanding of what the base is changes.
We do have. That's why I said situational, because we have things that, like I said, we could definitely say are objectively immoral or objectively moral.
So if we make the house analogy and we say that the foundation upon which we build our home is objective morality, and we start out by finding this foundation to build our home, and we initially build our home from straw and mud. Mm-hmm. We later find out that straw and mud are fairly temporary. Yep.
We need
are fairly temporary, inadequate building materials. So we change that with the technology and our understanding at the time, and we build upon our solid, unchanging foundation with wood and shingles and siding. And then later we determine, we invent steel. Okay. It doesn't mean that we change the foundation. We change the structure that is built on that foundation.
So what mechanism then do you go about determining that these whatever elements of morality are objective, that those are the foundational things?
I think we may still be finding those out. I don't know that we've found them.
Okay.
But I can't say that you can argue that they don't exist.
That's why I said situation. Based on any given situation, you have to judge the morality based on that situation, the information given.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm saying that they don't exist. I'm just saying that I'm not sure which side I fall on, because I'm not totally convinced that objectivity.
Well, and I would even argue that I would even argue, and I've kind of been swayed to say that there is such a thing as objective morality, but I don't think that you can argue that objective morality is more important than subjective morality. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because we base our lives and everything around us on our subjective understanding of the world around us.
And beliefs, yeah.
It doesn't mean that there's no such thing as an objective moral truth. It just means that our understanding is constantly changing and evolving, and we have to do what we think is best based on the knowledge that we have at the time.
Okay, so
which is our subjective understanding.
Yep. If I'm understanding you, then what you're saying is we may not know what those objective truths are, according to about morality, but there are some, and we're continuing to figure out what those are or may be.
Yeah, I think
And,
so.
and as we go, it's kind of this.
Yeah, I
this
mean,
up
it's
and down as we get closer sometimes on some areas. And okay,
yeah, and I would say that the world becomes more and more moral all the time. At least in developed first world countries, we become more and more moral, right?
Yeah.
As our understanding of different
That's kind
things
of a
comes
goal of
along.
a society.
Right?
so how do you know then that those areas in which we're talking about, and I assume what you mean is like giving women the right to vote and have a say in things, and interracial marriage and
Equality.
and marriage equality all across the board.
Well,
right?
all of the
Gay
things that
marriage,
we subjectively
equality,
understand
period.
to be good,
right?
right?
All of those kinds of things. How do you know then that those are moving toward an objective moral good? I guess that's my question, because I'm not sure how you establish where the end line is if we don't know what those things are.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and
I don't know
I would
if you
say
do know
that we
there's an
can
end
measure
line.
those based on a variety of different factors. We can look at the health and happiness of the population as a whole. We can look at the participation of
So this
the
actually
populace
gets
as a
back to do help, don't hurt. Kind of
right,
thing.
and I would say that
interesting.
like I said, I think that there is such a thing as objective morality, but I think that our current understanding of it is to be so minuscule and diminished that it basically becomes non-important. It doesn't really matter because we're still operating on our subjective understanding of these objective truths,
Okay.
right? So it becomes not obsolete, because then we would have to have an understanding to say that we're moving past it. But we don't even have that foundational understanding of so many of these things that they're irrelevant. That's the word I was looking for, is that there may be an objective truth, but that objective truth at this point in time is fairly irrelevant because we're still operating on our subjective understanding of everything.
So you're saying then that the Decalogue is absolute and we can't understand the mind of God. I think is what I'm hearing.
No,
But
that's not what I'm saying.
But to be fair, everything we just said could also be used in that argument. And no, not everything. But I'm just saying.
I think you could make an attempt to use it in that argument.
That
but you'd
wasn't
fail.
even my
Yeah.
point. I was trying to just make a joke and lighten it up.
But do you guys get what I'm saying, though?
I do actually.
That I think that there are absolute objective moral truths, but they're fairly irrelevant because we don't operate on those, because we don't have a
Right.
clear understanding of most of
Because
them.
people behave based on their beliefs and not based on
and their subjective understanding
Yeah.
of what is
Right.
moral and good and true.
right. And collectively, our subjective understanding of those truths is getting closer and closer, at least from our observation, to the objective
That would be the ultimate
Yes.
goal.
moral
Yeah.
truth, which is the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Is there then a point we can peak?
I think that eventually, possibly, sure, we could, but
Religion keeps getting in the way.
Well, I'm just saying, let's assume for a second though that let's say we continue this trend of ups and downs, but the overall trajectory is closer to objective,
Kind of like
moral-
climate change.
right?
It keeps the scale keeps going up, but there are dips in it.
Yeah,
But
right.
it keeps as a gradual incline in that graph.
Right,
Yeah.
but
the trend is
but the mean
going
trend
up.
is upward, right? And so if we assume that objective morality is upward, I'm picturing it as like a flat line. These things are true.
That would be the religious side
do
of
you guys
it.
understand what I think you have a basic understanding of what I'm trying to say, right?
No,
That-
we're fucking idiots.
no, I'm just
I
looking
think
for.
we've had a pretty intelligent conversation
Well,
about
no,
it.
yeah, I think so too. I just want to make sure that I've made myself as clear as possible.
Well, that's why I'm
But-
asking questions still.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because the way I'm picturing it is from what you're saying is that there's it almost seems like there's, and I'm gesturing with my hand here, but I'm just saying there's like a flat line,
A plateau.
a zero value.
Yeah.
right, okay, and subjectively, right, we ebb and flow, right, we're going up and down, but the
Sure.
overall trajectory, as far as we can tell, based on our subjective opinions of the subjective morality that we've been using, is going up toward that objective plane.
Yes.
So what happens when our subjective morality collides with that objective plane? Is there no room for improvement at that point? I mean, does humanity just become objectively, morally perfect?
I don't know that there would be any room for improvement. I mean, we're kind of talking about Kurzweil's view of the singularity almost at that point, right?
Yeah.
Where we can determine based on all of the available information throughout history at the touch of our fingertips in a nanosecond what the correct moral choice would be.
All right.
But I think we can use Dan's argument here to basically go and prove that the Bible is not our moral standing. Because if you take that, if the Bible was the moral absolute truth, you would have a straight line. Because morality is given to you, boom, there's no change in morality.
Yep.
But instead we learn, we progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that if
so we are more moral than
the objective moral perfection is a straight line that's yet ahead of us, then the Bible is a subjective, stagnant.
It's a stumbling block along the road to to enlightenment.
That's
all those
years
dips
behind where we are.
Yeah.
All those dips
today,
you talk about is going back towards the Bible.
All the dips are, but they're still
the dips are related to the Bible.
Yeah, it's sucking back down towards that Bible. The Bible's trying to grab back on you. It's going to get back down here to you.
Yeah, but even the lowest dips today are light years ahead of what the Bible preaches.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's not even
that was the first dip.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah,
Moses.
That's
Yahweh.
the lowest dip. Next
Jesus
dip
was the first dip.
Yeah, he had the first dip. Even though he couldn't swim.
Yeah, it's just. I was thinking of trying to make a joke that way. He couldn't swim because he could walk on water, or he couldn't swim because he had holes in his hands.
Come on, Jesus, the morality water's fine.
Nice.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week.
Does it?
Yeah, we got a pretty good one
Yeah,
here. 2 hours and
one.
40 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's a long one.
Well,
All right.
I didn't think we were going to run that long tonight. And
We did.
I know.
We got on morality.
we got hooked on morality.
Yeah. It was a good talk.
I think so.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Your guys' presence is my present tonight. I fucking love this show, man.
Brian didn't
I
bring you a
love doing
present.
this.
I know. I was thinking about getting you a bottle of booze, and I'm like, where's he going to put it?
Yeah.
His liquor cabinet is
so
full.
Yeah.
No, I fucking love doing the show every week, man. I really, really look forward to it.
It is
every
fun.
week.
It is fun.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, till next time.
We'll see you next week.